on the East Rand on Friday after a case was opened against him earlier this month. The suspect is alleged to have sent multiple threatening messages targeting Ramaphosa, Hill Lewis and the businesswoman and her family. Hawks spokesperson Tandim Bambo says the suspect, whose identity has been concealed until his first court appearance, was transported from Gauteng to the Western Cape, where he will appear today.
The matter was reported to the Cape Town-based Hawks Cats, which conducted a swift investigation resulting in the suspect's apprehension in Gauteng, and is expected to appear in the Cape Town Magistrate Court on Monday, 26 May 2025, where he will face a charge of intimidation.
In a separate case, Mbambo says a KZN man has been handed a 5-year jail term for circulating doctored pornographic images to include the faces of Ramaphosa, former police minister Begicele, and his wife Tembega Ngobo.
Stebi Tabisonene, aged 37, has been convicted and sentenced by the Pietermaritzburg Regional Court on the 23rd of May 2025 for multiple contraventions of the Cybercrimes Act.
A witness from the Legal Practice Council is expected to take the stand this morning in the Senzo Meyiwa trial. 5 men are being tried for the Bafana Bafana captain's 2014 murder. Meyiwa was shot at the home of his then-girlfriend Kelly Kumalo in what the state believes was a hit. Last week, the testimony by the lead investigator, Brigadier Bongani Gininda, was paused after requests were made by the lawyer for the first accused, Moses Bia. Khomotso has more.
Last week, Advocate Charles Mnesi asked for more data from the tracking devices installed in some of the police cars which were used to transport the first accused, Moses Bia. Judge Ratama Khwatleng then expanded the request, asking that the AVL data of all the cars involved in transporting the accused be made available. When it was clear that the state would need time to secure this data, the testimony of lead investigator Brigadier Bongani Gininda was postponed until it's available. Prosecutor George Baloyi then told the court that another witness, an attorney from the Legal Practice Council, would be called to testify from today. At the same time, Nisi told the court that he'd want 2 state witnesses to be called back to the witness stand, an application that Judge Ratama Khwatleng also asked all the parties to address him on this morning. Khomotso, Eyewitness News.
The DA has criticized Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi on his decision to revive the controversial Nasi Spani program, which government hopes will create 40,000 jobs. The party's Refugee Nteke launched an attack against Lesufi at the weekend, pointing to the initiative's collapse in March. Thousands of people were left jobless when their temporary Nasi Spani contracts abruptly ended due to budget constraints. Nteke claims the funds were redirected from other social development programs to cover the contracts. She says the party wants Social Development MEC Faith Mazibuko to account for the source of funding in their first round of the initiative, which was launched ahead of last year's general elections.
She said in social development, they had actually ended the project on the 31st of March 2025. And in the previous questions recently, she indicated that 48 million rand had been taken from poverty alleviation programs to fund Nasi Spani in social development.
And Spain's foreign minister says the international community should look at sanctions against Israel to stop the Gaza war. José Manuel Albaraz was speaking in Madrid over the weekend as European and Arab nations gathered to urge an end to its offensive. Some of Israel's long-standing allies have added their voices to growing international pressure after it expanded military operations against Hamas rulers whose 2023 attack on Israel sparked a conflict. An aid blockade lasting almost 3 months has worsened shortages of food, water, fuel and medicine in the Palestinian territory, stoking fears of famine. The foreign minister says the talks are aimed at stopping Israel's inhumane and senseless war in Gaza. Gold is trading at $3,341.88 an ounce. The rand is at 17.80 to the dollar, 24.18 to the pound, 20.31 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $64.97 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N3 North between Marlborough Drive and the Buccleuch interchange. There's also slow-moving traffic along the N12 as well as the R24 West between Edenville Road and the Kilulis interchange. That's due to peak time delays there.
A fine day in store for Gauteng today. The temperatures will peak at highs between 21 and 23 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, a suspect is expected to make his first court appearance this morning after he was arrested for making threats against President President Cyril Ramaphosa, Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis, and a prominent local businesswoman.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
What are the matters that matter to you?
702 listens.
702.
Live
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Seven minutes after 9 o'clock. Thanks very much for joining us. Good morning and welcome. Monday edition. Clem is not here, and it is Thabo Shole Mashao in his place. I'm excited to be with you. There's quite a lot to deal with. I was listening to Bongani Bingwa earlier on, and he was touching on a very sad issue of crime in this country, how some people are experiencing it firsthand, and so much that criminals have upped the ante. They are now taking it to a whole new different level, coming into your house, kicking you out, cleaning the house, and then throwing you out in the street. When you go back in there, there's no furniture, nothing is there. They also kidnap some individuals, do horrible things to them, including rape, and then show the videos to the family, insisting that a ransom is paid within a certain time. That is, of course, there is a criminal activity, but in a long run, it shapes the ethos of a society. It creates a mold of who we are and what we accept. So in a long run, when these things continue to happen, they become a fiber and fabric of who we are as a nation. And we will then reproduce these individuals who keep doing these horrid things, and they will up the levels every single time. It's extremely important not to accept this. It's extremely important to be shocked and to be completely moved by everything else that is happening, which is not right. We shouldn't accept it. It's an anomaly. We should reject it, and we shouldn't get used to it. We can't afford to be numb. We can't afford to be crimed out. We can't afford to accept it when people are saying, you're always speaking about crime. There are so many... We cannot, because it's something that we shouldn't accept as part of who we are. Of course, there would be crime everywhere else in the world. But to this extent, they don't just take your car. They take you with them, demand your soul, your mind and your spirit and everything else that go with it. Let alone that, now you must open up your apps and give them the whole lot of cash that you have, however much you may have, and they'll still demand more. It's not enough that they've cleaned you out. Then you must take out loans as well. So that, there is no crime that should be accepted. I'm the first to say that. And I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm trying to lay out here. No crime is good crime. But there was a time when there was just opportunistic crime, where someone just wanted 200 rands, 500 rands or whatever else, and they take it without harming individuals or doing very little harm. That was still bad. I'm not saying we should accept that. But I'm saying right now it's at another level. We are at a different level. We are at the headquarters of crime. I don't want to say evil, because I don't want to spiritualize the show, because we all come from different denominations, faiths, and so on. So I don't want to say evil. It is, criminality at another level, negativity at another level. So I'm just wondering, to what extent does this shape who we are? And to what extent does this become a reflection of a South Africa that is not becoming better, but becoming worse? Make no mistake, I know there are so many people doing well in this country. There are so many people trying their best for this country to thrive. Plenty of them. But equally so, we have to speak about the bad that happens without being judged as pessimists, prophets of doom. We can't get used to this kind of nonsense. I listened, and I'm sure you also did, with great amount of pain in your heart when that gentleman spoke to Wangani and explained the ordeal that took place in his life. I am thinking about stories that are untold, people who can't even call a radio station, who can't share their experiences with anyone, the horrid criminal experiences that were visited upon them by others. I am just concerned that there are so many of these stories out there. And we must isolate these criminals. They must feel uncomfortable. They must know that there is a limelight shining on them, watching them. We must speak about them so that they know that we are aware of what they're doing. And it's only a matter of time until we all do something. They must know that we are not okay with this. I mean, sweeping it under the carpet is not going to help at all. So having said that, I urge you between now and 10, please come through, share your experiences, share your thoughts, warn others where the hotspots are if you can. Maybe your experience will allow someone else to escape that painful ordeal. Maybe you giving us heads up on what happened to you or your friend may save someone's life somewhere out there. It could be that you are in that life and now you are leaving it and you want to anonymously share the modus operandi with us so that we know what to look out for. Maybe it could be that you were involved in that criminality, you were in that gang and you were doing all these things and you've turned a corner and now you want to give us heads up. You want to warn us. You want to share and say, guys, this is what we do. This is how you should conduct yourself. This is the best way of escaping it. It could be that you are in the security space as well. You want to share some tips. Those tips may help someone. They just may help someone who will fall victim. I just want us to have a heart-to-heart. I just want us to have a heart-to-heart. Because things clearly are falling out of place. The wheels are coming off. Everything else is dithering, and we need to at least speak about it, put a spotlight on it, shout and scream and say, we are watching you, because bullies thrive when we say nothing about them, when we don't talk about them, when we ignore them. That's when they thrive, and that's when they keep us in a corner and beat us up, and we scream alone in the corner in the darkness of that space where no one can see us or help us. And that's what bullies want us to do, not to speak about their dastardly deeds. I am inviting you to share your experiences, your encounters on this issue, and perhaps your solutions. How do we get through this? This is a beautiful country. We must fight for it. We must fight for it. All of us. All of us. We saw what happened. I mean, it was so sad. It was so sad what took place in the White House. And I'll just keep it to the crime issues, that despite the lies and despite the perhaps fake news about one community being exposed to crime than the others, truth is, we were there and we shared with the world that we are the capital of crime globally. The admissions were there. Zingiswa Losi mentioned that grannies are being raped. And I'm not saying she shouldn't have, but I'm just showing to what extent this has gone. So much that even on the stage where the world is looking at us, there is this huge dark cloud that is hovering above us, that can be evaporated, that can't dissipate into oblivion, because it is right here. And that cloud, dark cloud, is called crime. Not just crime, violent crime, where people don't just take TVs, laptops. They want your life as well and your dignity. They want that. It's not enough that they took your cell phone. They say, where's your dignity? Bring it here as well. By taking those videos and sending it to everyone and raping you and doing all of this for everyone to see. They also want your dignity. What have we become? I mean, what have we become? And these chances are people who are around us, people that we know, people that we greet, people that we go to church with. These may be even colleagues, I shudder to say it, but they are just around us. What do we do? 011-883-0702. You may want to share that with us, 011-883-0702. Equally so, the matter of BEE as well. I thought maybe let's give it triple BEE laws. Let's give it some bit of ventilation as well. And we'll touch on it a little bit later because Thabo Shole is my guest, and they are petitioning Parliament over the Starlink exemption proposal. And you know that on the backdrop of that, the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, Solly Malatsi, issued a directive whereby they are suggesting that we need to revisit some of the triple BEE laws, and especially given that the ECT, that's the Electronic Communication Act, the timing thereof, Malatsi gazetted under the ECT Act after President Cyril Ramaphosa returned from the White House, you'd remember, after meeting with the US President and Elon Musk, and they had condemned the country's empowerment laws. Are those laws a hindrance or an enabler of economic transformation? Do they block a number of companies that truly want to do business, that want to create jobs, that want to bring economic stimulation and get viability of the economy going? Or are they blocking everything else? So feel free to share that with us as well. 10:30 until 11. Low uptake for Spaza Shop Support Fund. We spoke about Spaza Shops for some time, even on this show, that we need to support them. Ministers have said that, yes, let's support our Spaza Shops. There's a fund, but Spaza Shops are not taking up that opportunity. Why? Maybe they should tell us. Family Matters at 11. And the importance of creating family traditions and rituals. Your own family rituals, what are they? You slaughter on birthdays, or what do you do? Before a wedding, you get a kettle to, I don't know. So rituals, family rituals and traditions between 11. I look forward to that. But for now, I just want us to speak heart to heart. I want us to speak as South Africans. I truly want us to speak as a family. And of course, in the family, we'll have our own differences. But at the end of the day, it ought to be a family that unites against all the negativity that comes through. 011-883-0702, 19 after 9 on 702.
Hi, I'm Lewis Hamilton. Victory demands everything, but the journey is never solo. My team carves the way, data and innovation are my compass. This is how today's champions are made.
Drive your success and trade like a champion. CFI, a global leading broker now in South Africa. Access over 15,000 instruments, advanced trading tools, 24/7 support, and superior trading services. Visit cfi.trade today. CFI Financial is an authorized financial services provider.
CFI, empower yourself.
Unlock exciting bonus prizes when you top up your Betway account with a Betway Bucks voucher. From millions in cash and bonuses to extra bets and so much more, every top up is a chance to score big. Head over to leading retailers including Pick n Pay, Checkers, Pep Stores, and Incredible Connection and top up with Betway today. Terms and conditions apply. Betway is licensed and regulated by the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. No persons under the age of 18 are permitted to gamble. South African Responsible Gambling Program toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. Winners know when to stop.
Simply Asia could be sending you and 3 friends to Thailand. Chopsticks, our tiger, is already on the prowl. And he can't wait to tag along. He's got his pool noodle ready for Songkran. Hurry! You don't want to lose your seat on that plane? Join the fun at Simply Asia by spending just 200 Rand in-store on our app or via delivery. Chopsticks might just swipe your ticket. So don't wait. T's and C's apply, ending May 31st.
Every thriving business starts the same way with someone who dares to dream.
If that's you, 702 and Standard Bank's MyMobiz business account want to back your next bold move.
Every week we'll spotlight 4 of Gauteng's boldest entrepreneurs and give them a chance to win 25,000 Rand to boost their business.
And if you already bank smart with a Standard Bank business account, that becomes 50,000 Rand. To enter, hit primemediaplus.com
and tell us your growth aspiration and how a cash injection could unlock your next level of success.
This week, tune in to 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa, weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. to hear if your business is in the running. It's time to rise and thrive with Standard Bank's MyMobiz business account.
TCs and more at primemediaplus.com.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
Indeed, your voice notes, feel free to send them to 072 702 1702. Your calls 011 883 0702. Sello, you've been holding for some time. Thanks for your patience. Welcome to the show. Good morning.
Hello?
Sello, it's your turn, bro.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to speak a little bit about this crime issue. I think if we are a criminal day in South Africa, the market favors you to thrive. I mean, NPA is useless. Citizens are all in fear and they are unarmed. Police are threat. Even if you are running, there's no police that is going to catch you. Have you seen how unfit those police officers are? I'm going to outrun those people if I'm a criminal. So my view is South African, there's no justice for victims in South Africa. And even if someone comes into my house, I have to think and be extra careful. I can't protect my own family. And I've always been standing for people must arm themselves and train themselves so that if a need be, they are able to protect things that theirs. And politicians must have laws that protect us to stand our ground. Right now, we don't have rights. People that have rights are criminals. They'll tell me that I must be 100% sure that I'm in danger. By the time I'm 100% sure that I'm in danger, I'm dead. That person has shot me dead. What happened at the White House is just an example of what is happening in the whole of South Africa for everyone that lives in South Africa. I mean, I'm going to a meeting now. I'm parked outside the restaurant. Because I'm driving a bike here, I'm told that I must park near the entrance so that they can see my bike.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. I drive a bike here. I'm in fear every day. I've got a gun with me, but I know that it could go either way.
Yeah.
So my thing is, the more South Africans are armed, because sometimes I experience people being mugged and no one does anything because one man who's a criminal has a gun. But I want you to imagine a scenario where 10 South Africans has guns around that person that is mugging that person. And he knows that there's a possibility that these people are armed. He will think twice before he mugs people. But now he doesn't think twice because he knows that number one, South Africans are unarmed, are untrained, and the law is in his favor.
Yeah, and I mean, Sidlo, what do we do to change the laws? I suppose we need to petition lawmakers, we need to petition parliament, we need to, I don't know, are you suggesting that lack of deterrence is the main cause as to why we find ourselves in this victimhood place?
There is no incentive for a would-be criminal not to do crime. So we must do everything to incentivize people to not do crime. So the lawmakers must, in other countries, they have got stand your ground laws.
Yeah.
In South Africa, if you walk into my house, Chief, I've got a very small window of protecting myself. You've got 98% of the window to kill me.
Yeah.
I must be 100%. There's this thing that I must be sure that my life is in danger.
Yes.
Why do I do those calculations?
But Silo, I know. And you do realize that if somehow we don't have any guidelines, it will be free for all. You'll shoot Thabo, you'll invite me to your house and shoot me because we had a business disagreement and say I was endangering your life. It's an extreme example, I know, but I'm just saying it's open to abuse. The laws are there to provide some guidelines so that we don't have a situation which is exploited.
I hear you, Brother, but right now, as things are, that abuse is happening on the end of criminals.
Yeah, Silo, I agree 100% that we need to, of course, do something better. Takalo in Joburg. Takalo, hi, welcome.
Hi, good morning, Thabo. How are you?
I'm free, brah, and frustrated and pained by this. How are you? Thanks for asking. How are you?
You're saying, I'm good, thanks, I'm good. You're saying that you're frustrated?
As well, yeah, amongst other feelings as well, yes.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever got hijacked in your life before?
Yes, I have. I have been hijacked in Meadowlands before, and I've said it on air that I'm not just talking about things that I read about. I have been hijacked. I've been beaten up by criminals, and they also used a gun to assault me. And so I have. I know exactly what I'm talking about, and there's proof to the effect. You can go to the police station and ask in Meadowlands as well.
Okay, I get what you're saying, which means that you and I were in the same boat, because the same thing happened to me in Pretoria in 2021 in Acadia.
Yeah.
And then that thing, then when it was happening, I was driving a Polo TSI, and then I had just lost my job. I was unemployed.
Sorry.
And they come and take the car.
Oh no.
On a gunpoint.
Yeah.
And then they drove me around, withdrawing the cash. They drove me around Pretoria, went to Atteridgeville. I'm not looking anywhere, I'm looking down. When I try to raise my head, they are beating me with their gun. They're asking me questions. Where's your girlfriend? Where's the laptop? Give us the laptop. Give us money. So the show that you are having today, I got touched about it. You know, I just want to say that I don't wish anyone to go through that experience.
Yeah.
I don't wish anyone to go through that experience in their lives. It's not nice.
Yeah.
I'm still traumatized even today.
I can imagine.
To a point where I have anger. A lot of it. I don't understand what is happening in this country. I don't understand how are they running this country, because how many young people are unemployed in South Africa? 60%, right? I think.
So, and others who have completely stopped looking for employment altogether.
Yes, and then they have got grade 12s, those people. Why don't they take half of them and make them the police?
Well, there are a couple of issues, but I don't want to raise them so that I don't want to dilute a very important issue.
They don't
that you're
think
making.
for us. They don't think for us. They think of themselves only.
Yeah.
Let me conclude.
Yes, bro.
And go to the USA. Trump.
Yeah.
And those people around him. Those white people, they are just racist. That's all. Thank you.
Awamunna, you can't just say that and run away. I hope you're not generalizing. You can't just say that because they're white, they're racist. It doesn't work like that, right? Just as much as you can't say they're black, they're stupid. I would be fighting with you if someone said that. So, but you can't just assume that, bruh. It's generalization. It's putting people in a group. That it's more nuanced than that, my brother. You know that's not right.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And
okay.
then,
yeah. But I'm sorry about your hardships. I'm sorry about your experience of being hijacked and being beaten up like that. It must be very difficult. I'm hoping you'll get some help and to deal with the anger that you are speaking about, my brother. And all the best to you, Dagalo. Thanks for calling. It's exactly 9:30. Sfiso Zulu will give us the very latest on eyewitness news headlines. And like he just stick around, Lucy, Slindile, and others. I'll come back to you after Sfiso has told us what's the very latest. Morning, welcome, Sfiso.
Thanks, Thabo. Good morning. This morning's deadly fire in Boksburg on the East Rand is now being treated as a crime scene. The blaze gutted a family home in Marikana and formal settlements in the early hours of this morning, killing 6 people, including a 1-year-old baby. When firefighters arrived, a 4-roomed shack was already engulfed in flames, with community members trying to extinguish it. President Cyril Ramaphosa says his recent visit to the US came when relations between the two countries were under increasing strain, mainly due to disinformation. Ramaphosa says false narratives about South Africa had peddled by what he calls fringe groups in both countries, including claims of a so-called genocide and violent campaign against against white farmers. And Americans across the country have remembered George Floyd 5 years after he was killed by police, with special gatherings in the city where he grew up and the one where he died. The murder of Floyd, a black man in Minneapolis by police officer Derek Chauvin, led to nationwide protests against racism and police brutality. Yesterday, his family gathered in their hometown of Houston near his gravesite for a service that was led by Reverend Al Sharpton. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10, or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage in Kempton Park, if you're leaving OR Tambo International Airport heading towards the Tembisa area, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic, R21 northbound. That's between Atlas Road and the R23 Benoni off-ramp. Also, if you're leaving Alex heading towards Midrand, slow-moving traffic in the Calvin area, N3 northbound, between Marlborough Drive and the Batlu interchange. Otherwise, things have settled down pretty nicely across most parts of 702 land. Just look out for those faulty traffic lights though in Midrand at Olifantsfontein Road and Allendale. Traffic lights also not working in Bryanston at Winnie Mandela Drive and Sloane. If you come across any other traffic issues, please SMS us on 31702. We are also on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Choose Checkers, SA's #1 in value supermarket, and save on deals like Fanta Sprite Stony or Schweppes cold drink 2 litres, any 2 for 32 Rand. Nivea body lotion or cream 400 mils, any for 56.99. And beef oxtail for 98.99 per kilo. Valid until this Sunday at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
If you knew the future, you'd be brave. Well, now you can be with Volvo's guaranteed future value. Get your EX30 from 9,999 per month, and after 48 months, return, upgrade or keep. It's safe to be brave with Volvo. Based on 6.13% interest, 48-month term, 10% deposit and 52% GFE. Initiation fee of 1,207.50 and monthly service fee is 69 Rand. Total cost of credit is 904,500. Finance officer subject to approval from Volvo Car Finance, a product of Westbank, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider. NCRCP 20. T's and C's apply.
On the 28th of May, Spur Steak Ranchers and NGO Rise Against Hunger will be packing meals at Thunder Ridge Spur Centurion in aid of World Hunger Day. These meals will benefit young children at under-resourced daycare centers across South Africa. If you're keen to volunteer and help pack meals, visit the Spur Facebook and Instagram pages or visit riseagainsthunger.org to sign up. Volunteer shifts start at 10 a.m., 12 a.m. and 2 p.m.
Weekday evenings at 6.
Who stands to lose out if Starlink is allowed in? Who's likely to oppose this change?
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a lot of opposition to it, provided the new rules are applied across the board. But it certainly wouldn't make sense to say to one group of telecommunications licensees, you have to have equity shareholding by black investors, and then turn around and say to the satellite guys, actually, these rules don't apply to you.
Duncan McLeod, founder and editor at techcentral.co.za.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Curtis is brought to you by ABSA CIB. ABSA is a proud lead sponsor of B20 South Africa 2025. ABSA is a registered FSP. Your story matters. 702. Let's walk the talk.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
Welcome back. 25 minutes to 10 o'clock. It's Thabo in for Clement. We're together till 12. I'm a bit on the low side of things, especially after hearing about the crime issues in South Africa, how criminals are doing as they please. And my heart goes out to all victims of crime at this particular point. Those who've lost their loved ones, those whose lives have been shared by these criminals, and those who've watched as criminals run amok in the country. My heart goes out to you, and I wish you strength. I we had a call from one of our listeners a little bit earlier on who was lamenting the fact that he was a victim of hijack, and at some point the criminals were beating him up, and now he's got anger issues, rightly so, because that experience is traumatizing. Being hijacked can leave you a little bit traumatized, especially if the guns are involved and you were beaten up. It does leave you a bit traumatized. And we thought, let's just have a chat and let's not make this normal. This is not how we'd like to raise our kids. This is not the environment that we want for our loved ones. This is not the environment that we want for ourselves. Share with us your story. It could be that you feel just a little bit better, but it could also be that you are helping someone else to survive what would be a life-changing event. 011-883-0702. Let's start off with Lucky in Pretoria. Lucky, hi, welcome.
Good morning, Thabo. Thanks for the opportunity. Thabo, I want to talk about this issue of the Minister of Communication. The Minister of Communication, what he did is, at the level of principle, there's nothing wrong with it because the issue of equity equivalence is catered for in the BE legislation. However, the question of the timing in which he does this becomes an issue because it looks like it gives an impression that it's trying to penal beat legislation. In other words, to change the law in order for the law to comply with non-compliance instead of changing non-compliance to comply with the law. The BE legislation is a very old piece of legislation. In fact, this concept comes from Malaysia in the late 1959s, 1960s. And it was implemented successfully because it was not meant to create a few elites out of those that are political connected like we have seen here. Equity equivalence by their nature are meant to address that shortfall where people use a piece of law, a legitimate piece of law, in order to benefit a particular group of people. Equity equivalence say that instead of doing it in this particular fashion, the company that is supposed to comply is going to apply it differently in a manner that it benefits the majority of the people, and in particular, the employees in that particular sector. The problem with equity equivalence, again, because it has got its own problem, is that companies find a way to bypass it. Yes. They create what they call special purpose vehicles, where they house the BE component that is supposed to be given out to the beneficiaries, whoever the beneficiaries
are. To the broader public out there who may want to participate economically and financially in those transactions, yes.
Yes, and short-circuit it in such a manner that at the end of the day, those people don't derive a benefit out of it.
Yeah, it's only a few that are within their proximity and that they can also control.
Some are even left worse off.
Yeah.
Because in most of the situations, these things are financed by debt. They create these special purpose vehicles where the shares are financed through debt.
Yes.
And they dilute these shares to make sure that by the end of the term where these people are supposed to realize a benefit, these shares are worth nothing.
Yeah. Lucky, let's leave it at that. I think you've made a great point. And you are saying that deviating from the norm in order to accommodate one individual is problematic. And it is not that I suspect that individuals are against Starlink, but people are saying that, was this cooked long ago? I mean, are we being sold a dummy? There was somehow a predetermination, perhaps even before the trip to the US. Things were done and all of us were just subject to the signatures that were attached and the agreements for public relations purposes. Was this done long ago? And I mean, who's running the country? And who's running the world, one would ask. Is it business or is it politicians? And often politicians are just mere managers. It's the man with cash in the pocket who tells the country which direction to take. 011-883-0702. Slindile, thanks for your patience. You've been holding for long. Really appreciate it. It's your turn.
Thank you, Thabo. Let me just put my point across. I'm interested in hearing your comment. You know, people have been saying that they praise the South African team in the Oval Office, and I don't understand which team, because the people who spoke the most are the three friends of Trump, those white guys, the two golfers and Rupert, and then Cindy Swallows was speaking, the COSATU lady. And then the ministers, they didn't speak. The only minister who spoke is Steenhuisen. And the first thing that he said, I thought he was going to say, is that there's no genocide. He went on and on about Malema and all those things.
MK.
That he was still in our parliament with MK. But for me, when I travel, that's not important for me, because when you look at our country, we're losing sight of how the Ramaphosa's presidency. We're losing sight. We're busy debating about what happened in the Oval Office, who did what well and who spoke well. Who did. The country is in a dire state. We are in a genocide now. They didn't put it in the right context. This country is in a genocide. Our murder rate is more than the countries that are in a genocide itself. And they were there glorifying crime because they want to defend the genocide. I didn't understand that. For you to defend the genocide, you bring the issue of crime, and yet you said you went there because you want investors. Who investor will come into a country that the president and other citizens were sitting there speaking with the president that he didn't invite because Trump invited his friends, and they're talking about crime in the country, and you had to want investment. Look our country.
But before you move on, and before I forget, because I'll get into trouble and people will say, but you kept quiet when Slindile said this. Slindile, you do know that the definition is rather pointed of the genocide, right? It's not as loosely placed as you'd like it to be. It ought to be, at least there must be an intention to destroy one part or a whole of individuals or a collective, either ethnically or religiously, or a religious group. So in that way, if it was a genocide, you'd have to have an intention to say, we are getting rid of the Catholics in South Africa. So if Thabo is Catholic, we are going to go after him. Like we saw the Hutus and the Tutsis conflict in Rwanda, just as we are voting for the first time here in South Africa. So I'm just saying that there's a specific definition for a genocide. And if it's your view that there's a genocide, is it consistent with this definition, you think?
Yes, you know, when you're still battling with the definition of a genocide, all I'm saying is that the deaths in this country, you can equal them into a genocide. The deaths, it doesn't matter who kills who. The deaths in South Africa, take the stats of people who are dying. It doesn't matter whether they are Zulus or the Africans. It doesn't matter what the term says. I'm saying the level of crime, how people are dying in this country. You find people going to a tavern and shooting 15 people dead.
Yeah.
You know, during the insurrection that they were talking about, 300 people died. You know, so what do you call them?
Yeah, it rivals that of a war zone, right? And I agree with you on that one. It was just the genocide that I was correct in that. If you say so, it means that there's an intention to get rid of a specific group. I'm not doing away with a very important point that you're making, that the level of crime rivals that of in countries that are war-torn.
Yeah, I understand, Thabo, but let's not lose sight of it. We say we have a best constitution, but we are an unequal society. That doesn't make sense also. So let's not lose sight of Ramaphosa and his failures, because for me, Ramaphosa is beating all the records of Jacob Zuma with his failures. We are worse than we were when Zuma did. Not that I'm praising Zuma, he was with the West. Now Ramaphosa is beating those records. We're beating records of wrong things in this country. We are number one in wrong things. Everything that is wrong, we are number one.
And Slindile, what do you think really is an issue with people not standing up and saying that we demand change? And I'm not inciting anyone. I'm just saying legally, through a vote or through petitioning, through legal means. Why do you think that people are just so detained on their chairs and their couches not to speak out and not to demand change?
Oh, thank you for that question, Thabo, because you're saying something that I was talking about very this morning, They are in a JNU. DA is protecting Ramaphosa because they are also protecting their self-interest. But I'm disappointed with the other parties, like the EFF, the smaller parties, as they did with Zuma, with I think 7 of vote of no confidence. Ramaphosa hasn't got even 1. Even if they protect him, the DA protects Ramaphosa and the ANC. But at least history will tell that they did that.
Slindile, let's leave it at that. Really appreciate your time. Lucy, you are in Joburg. Lucy, hi.
Hello, good morning to you, Thabo.
Good
Your
morning.
introduction was spot on this morning.
Thank you.
I'm an old lady. I'm 87 years of age. I'd like to give you my CV of crime. I've been hijacked. I've been tied up in my house twice. I've been robbed a dozen times. I've been mugged 5 times. I'm not traumatized. I'm angry. I'm not angry with the people that do it. I'm angry with this government. I cannot believe that we have 300 municipal or councillors. What have they done in Joburg? Cleaned or what have they done? What has the government done? It's unbelievable. It's actually a tragedy. It's not a disaster. Honestly, that is my feeling. We need harsher punishment for the crime. Surely, people that commit rape and then are out on parole and do it the same 1 week later should be castrated, for sure. And people that murder and little babies of 6 months or rape them and slit their throats and burn them should be put to death. Who's got human rights? Has that baby not got human rights? I just don't understand what's going on. And it's just a tragedy. Yeah. And all I can say is I'm equally frustrated. Yeah. I'm equally depressed about it. And I just don't know what can be done about it and how they are going to overcome this crime.
Before you go, Lucy, if you don't mind sharing a few seconds with me on this issue of crime, I wanted to find out from you, is it your belief that if there were more stringent ways of punishing criminals or correcting criminals, or their sentences were a little bit harsher, that things would change? Or could it be that the true deterrent is not being caught? People knowing that they'll get away with it and they're not going to be caught to start off with. So punishment is just way down the line. The real thing is that they'll escape the harshness of the law because they're not going to be caught anyway to start off with. Therefore, it speaks to the investigative capabilities of our police to trace the criminal and take and hold them to the courts.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right. I know statistics show that death penalties and sentences actually, they say, doesn't improve matters. But do we need those people running around the streets? That's the point. But, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, we under populated as far as the police are concerned. And the trouble is, they're in with the crime people as well. Yeah. You know, the last time I got robbed here and tried in my house was about a year ago.
Oh, no.
Okay, in Sampson at 11 o'clock on the Tuesday. The Sampson police arrived. They must have been tested them, detectives and what have you. They sat me around the table. They discussed everything with me. They were going to catch people within the next day.
Yeah.
At any rate, I never heard from them again.
Good. Lucy, thank you so much for your thoughts and for contributing to the show. Really appreciate it. Feel free to do so as well on 072 702 1702 11 to 10.
Every time we are on the radio, we are not just talking. We're turning words into actions.
Actions that change communities.
Actions that make a difference. And every time you tune into 702,
you're not just listening to the radio,
you're in conversation with us.
And your voice matters. You're on a journey with us.
And every step we take counts. It's these steps that not only help us grow as individuals, but also bring us together as a society. Through the good times and the bad.
Every step gets us closer to the South Africa we want to be.
So keep walking with 702. And let's make this a journey to remember. 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Corporates That Care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better Africa. Catch Corporates That Care this Wednesday at 10 to 9, featuring Food Lovers Market. Andrew Milson, their Managing Executive, People and Sustainability, will be in conversation with Bongani Bingwa. Join us every Wednesday as we highlight the efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoor. 702, let's walk the talk and make a difference together.
A bowl of cereal, a glass of orange juice, some flavored yogurt for breakfast. Ultra-processed products such as these may be high in sugar, salt, or saturated fat. Having too much of these products could lead to diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease. Our health is in danger. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front of package warning labels now. Sign the petition on healer.org. HEALA.org.
Herschel Gibbs here, with more than just a crypto ad. Crypto payments are now live on 10Bet. And there's more. Download the app, deposit, and get an extra 5% in cash. The future of betting, faster, safer, and smoother. Play now at 10bet.co.za. 10Bet is a licensed betting operator and supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 shall be permitted to bet. Betting can be addictive. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Every thriving business starts the same way with someone who dares to dream.
If that's you, 702 and Standard Bank's MyMobiz business account want to back your next bold move.
Every week we'll spotlight 4 of Gauteng's boldest entrepreneurs and give them a chance to win 25,000 Rand to boost their business.
And if you already bank smart with a Standard Bank business account, that becomes 50,000 Rand. To enter, hit primemediaplus.com
and tell us your growth aspiration and how a cash injection could unlock your next level of success.
This week, tune in to 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa, weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. to hear if your business is in the running. It's time to rise and thrive with Standard Bank's MyMobiz business account.
TCs and more at primemediaplus.com.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
7 minutes to 10 o'clock. Thabo in for Clement. You're on 702. Great having you with us. Let's continue the discussion. We're speaking about BEE, triple BE. We're speaking about crime. And I'm hoping that some of you, especially in the security industry, will call in just to give us some tips, right? And tell us at which specific times between 4 and 6 it could be that there are most hijackings and whereabout. Give us the hotspots. Give us some tips as to what to do. Please do that as well. Of course, we need to lament the issues, but you also, if you can help us with a little bit of assistance so that the conversation produces a bit of lesser victims. Feel free to do so on 011-883-0702. I would love to hear from you. What did you do? What saved your life? Is it because you refused to jump into the boot when they were throwing you in there and you said, no, rather do it here? Is it because you complied 100%? And what is it that saved your life? And what is it that saves lives under such circumstances? Please share with us those tips as well. And your experiences, most welcome to put them on the table. And venting may just help. It just may help. 011-883-0702. We have voice notes, Abel.
Good morning, Thabo. I personally believe that the South African government doesn't care about our safety. And look now, these guys, they want to take away the power from the security companies. These security companies are already playing a bigger role now, but now they say they want to take away the power, because they can see these people are really helping us. And on top of that, this government continue to overtax us. We want to provide our own safety, want to hire our own private companies. They must just let go of our tax money. They can at least give us back half of that money, because we're already catering for ourselves. We pay for our own security companies. We go to the private school because the government school, they're under-resourced. We even have to buy our own water because the water that they supply is dirty. So this government doesn't care. As long as they've got bodyguard, and all this stuff, they don't really care about us. For them is to continue taking more and more and leave us vulnerable.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is Johnny from Joburg.
Thanks.
Good morning, Thabo.
Morning.
You forgot to mention that all these crimes that we are talking about are done by black people. We are killed by our our own black people. We are robbed by black people. When we say this, people are saying self-hate, but it's easy to say white this, white that, white this, white that every day. And on the BEE, we are not benefiting from that. Only politicians. BEE was only made for politicians, not us. Thank you.
Good morning, Thabo. So my question is, mob justice is not the answer.
Yeah.
Shooting to kill is not the answer. The police are corrupt is not the answer. Closing borders is not the answer. Reporting is not the answer. When you do report, you get killed or... So exactly, who is to blame and how do we implement this? Because we don't want to ignore it. It is a problem we have. But obviously the solutions that we do have to protect ourselves are not the right answers either.
Yeah.
And the people that we can report to are corrupt. Yeah. So please, can somebody shine a light to what we should do then? Because it's not like we're not doing anything, you know, overpopulation. I don't know.
Yeah, it is worrying. And what is the answer? I don't think there's one specific answer. It could be a conglomeration of various aspects, putting them together to come up with an answer. And your frustration is very clear in your voice. I cannot devalue that. I shouldn't devalue that at all. And we are asking for answers. We are shrugging our shoulders and say, what is it that we can do to get ourselves out of this serious problem? You have the most wonderful patriots being attacked. And someone said, it's black people mainly committing crimes. I can't run away from that. The stats are there for all to see. Of course, as the majority, we would be culprit to such instances. But there's a lot to be said about that as well. It needs a show on its own. And I'm not the one to run away from those realities. It is, and it's embarrassing. It also speaks to the socioeconomic conditions of a people that are lamenting change and become despondent over time. And they sit around and do nothing. And that is not to say that it's the poor who are committing crime, but I think there ought to be a link somehow between socioeconomic inactivity and crime. Let us know. 011-883-0702.
Dear Journal, trying to be an adult, day 3,247. My financial advisor asked if I was expecting any inheritance. I said, I don't have a trust fund, but I trust that funds will find their way to my bank account. He was not amused.
Recently removed from the family payroll? Get covered at pineapple.co.za. It's like 570 Rand a month, so it's 100% the insurance for you. Underwritten by Old Mutual Alternative Risk Transfer Insurer Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. Premiums are risk profile dependent.
So, how did it go?
Oh, just perfect. The drive, so comfortable. The panoramic sunroof, my highlight.
But what about the date?
He was nice, but the Jolian Pro, next level.
Sometimes the drive is the best part. The Haval Jolian Pro from 4,399 per month. Visit gwm.coza for T's and C's and to book a test drive. Go with more. Go with GWM.
PG Glass Repair, PG Glass Replace.
Hi, I'm Komoto, PG Glass Technician. At PG Glass, we keep your windscreen chip-free and crystal clear.
Choose PG Glass, quality you can trust. Visit pg.co.za.
Infrastructure South Africa presents the Sustainable Infrastructure Development Symposium South Africa, happening from the 25th to the 27th May at the Century City Convention Centre in Cape Town. Catch the Clement Manyathela Show live from the symposium on Tuesday as ISA showcases infrastructure investment opportunities in both South Africa and the African continent. Don't miss all the highlights, live updates, and more, plus a special keynote address from President Cyril Ramaphosa, brought to you by Infrastructure South Africa on 702.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. This morning's deadly fire in Boksburg on the East Rand is now being treated as a crime scene. The blaze gutted a family home in Marikana informal settlements in the early hours of this morning, killing 6 people, including a 1-year-old baby. When emergency services arrived, the 4-bedroom shack was already engulfed in flames, with neighbors trying to extinguish it. Mongezi Koko joins us now live from the Marikana informal settlement. Mongezi, a horrific incident this morning.
That's right, Sfiso. The entire area has been cordoned off, with crime scene experts going through what's left of the 4-room shack piece by piece. Along with dozens of onlookers, I'm standing just outside the burnt structure where 6 family members, including a 1-year-old, perished in the early hours of this morning. Now, only a 7-year-old girl survived. She is currently in hospital, Sfiso, with critical burn wounds. A forensic pathologist is expected on scene shortly as police now treat this as a criminal investigation. Ekurhuleni EMS spokesperson William Ntadi.
The smallest was a toddler of about 1.5 years of age. So unfortunately, they were declared dead on scene by the paramedics. And the cause of the fire is still undetermined. So we don't know what actually might have caused this.
Now, Sfiso, investigators have not yet confirmed the cause of that fire. Mmusi Maimane, Eyewitness News, reporting live from the Marikana informal settlement on the East Rand.
Police Minister Senzo Mchunu says he hasn't seen a letter from controversial social media content creator Matthew Lani demanding a 2 million rand payout for what he says was his unlawful arrest. Lani was handcuffed at the Helen Joseph Hospital in Johannesburg in 2023 after a social media frenzy about his qualifications. He made headlines for parading as a medical doctor, giving unsolicited medical advice on social media platform TikTok. Wits University dismissed his claims that he was a graduate at the institution's medical school, while the health department also confirmed he hadn't completed matric. Thandoluhle Ngobo has the details.
Publication City Press says a letter of demand dated 21 May has been served by Matthew Lani's lawyers to Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. According to the publication, the demand for money is listed as compensation for damages for his alleged assault while in custody and what Lani believes was an unlawful arrest. The letter was also directed to National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola, giving them both 30 days to respond. Mchunu addressed the reports while on 702's Nguni program, Siyaxoxa 702.
It may be that the letter has arrived at my office and has been referred through the proper channels. It has to go through a number of internal processes before it arrives in my hands. I will deal with it once it has landed on my desk.
Last year, the NPA decided not to prosecute Lani for impersonating a medical doctor, citing a lack of evidence. Thandoluhle Ngobo, Eyewitness News.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says his recent visit to the US came when relations between the two countries were under increasing strain, mainly due to disinformation. Ramaphosa says false narratives about South Africa have been peddled by what he calls fringe groups in both countries, including claims of a so-called genocide and violent campaign against white farmers. The president has written in his latest News Weekly letter that South Africa has always regarded the US as a strong investment and trading partner and wants to cement the relationship. Babalo Ndenza reports.
President Cyril Ramaphosa undertook a working visit to the United States last week at the invitation of President Donald Trump to strengthen relations between the two countries. But the visit was marred by claims of so-called white genocide, which almost overshadowed key trade discussions. Ramaphosa says in this context, it was critical for South Africa to engage directly with the US administration to correct the disinformation and provide a true account of the situation and complex challenges. He says while this was a necessary conversation, the overarching aim of the visit was to deepen strategic economic partnership with the US as the country's second largest trading partner. Ramaphosa says the US is a key export market for South African goods, which include motor vehicles and increasingly critical minerals. Babalo Ndenze, Eyewitness News.
And Americans across the country have remembered George Floyd 5 years after he was killed by police, with special gatherings in the city where he grew up and the one where he died. The murder of Floyd, a black man in Minneapolis, by a white police officer, Derek Chauvin, led to nationwide protests against racism and police brutality. What many hailed as a national reckoning with racism after Floyd's death seems to be fading as President Donald Trump starts to roll back police reforms in Minneapolis and other cities. Yesterday, Floyd's family gathered in their hometown of Houston near his gravesite for a service led by Reverend Al Sharpton.
So we've come 5 years down the road. We came to recommit. This is not a mourning pity party. This is a recommitment that we promised George, and we're going to keep our promise.
Gold is trading at $3,334.30 an ounce. The rand is at 17.85 to the dollar, 24.23 to the pound, 20.35 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $65.01 a barrel.
While in Kempton Park, traffic remains heavily backed up. That's leaving OR Tambo International Airport heading towards Tembisa. That's the R21 northbound between Atlas Road and the R23 Benoni off-ramp. And in Calvin, traffic sluggish. N3 north between Marlborough Drive and the Butler interchange.
A fine day in store for Gauteng today. The temperatures will peak at highs between 21 and 23 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: a deadly fire in Boksburg on the East Rand is now being treated as a crime scene.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Walk through history, walk with it. Sunday, 27 July, 7:02 Walk the Talk. Hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane. More on primemediaplus.com.
7:02
Live
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Seven minutes after 10 o'clock. Thanks very much for joining us. You're on 7:02. Thabo Shole Mashao in for Clement Manyathela. We're together till 12. Great having you with us. The open line, a bit frustrating, a bit painful, uneasy as we're looking at issues of crime, experiences that are felt by ordinary South Africans out there, and the outrage is very, very clear. We need to do something urgently or we'll lose our country to criminals. In this hour, or just in the next few minutes, we'll look at this very disturbing matter, and a number of politicians have raised it, given that the Minister of Communication and Digital Technologies made public the directives to but in some instances not go the route of the triple BEE policy as stipulated, and perhaps to deviate a little bit in order to make way, especially in the ICT sector. A number of key stakeholders have raised their concerns. Thabo Shole Mashao, chairperson of Public Interest, spoke about it. But Build One South Africa Party as well issued a statement calling on the minister to make public the record, on decision on this matter, and so as to assure the people of South Africa that this was not a backdoor deal. What do you make of it? I'd like to hear from you. 9 minutes after 10 o'clock.
Let's walk the talk.
7:02
7:02 indeed. Build One South Africa has said that the government, if the government can show flexibility for foreign entrants, then it must do the same urgently for South African businesses who have been complaining about some stringent measures that the policy places on their business and the ability to their inability to become agile as a result. Mmusi Maimane is leader of Build One South Africa, and he joins us right now for the next few minutes, and then we will have a word with Thabo Shole Mashao. Mmusi, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. Good morning to you and welcome to 702.
Good morning, Thabo, and happy Africa Month or Africa Day, and thank you for having me on your show.
A great Africa Month and Africa Day to you too, good sir. Straightforward to this issue, do you believe, is it your impression that the minister really altered and produced this directive in order to benefit specifically Starlink?
I certainly do, and I think that the timing of it certainly confirms that view, and Minister Malatsi has every right to go and defend his case at the Portfolio Committee. I think the broader point that we must not lose is that the South African Constitution enjoins us to achieve measures that address historical injustices. And all of us who are constitution-loving people believe in that. What ultimately needs to happen is that we must recognize that BBBEE has reached its point. And now what we've got to do is create legislation that addresses redress, but is also future focused in economies that are changing. So what I think is the broader point that should not be lost here is that perhaps we need to rethink how we do redress. And we mustn't do it specifically for Starlink or for anybody. We must do it so that the gross capital formation or the rate of investment that South African companies is engaged in is relatively low. And we must incentivize them to invest more, and we must attract foreign direct investment. So to me, I think rather than us looking at this just only narrowly through Starlink, we need to look at it broadly and say, what are the new sets of legislation we can enact that achieve what Mr. Malatsi is trying to do, which is equity equivalent or whatever? I think you will go down a route there that will also end up not achieving what you want. I think we need to create a system where we empower education, we change the dynamics of transformation, and ultimately achieve a greater rate of investment. That is what we need to do.
And that's in a long term, right, Mmusi? You talk about skills development and obviously capacitating our local businesses. But in this instance, we would look at the equity part of it, wherein companies, local companies of previously or historically disadvantaged individuals or groups get to benefit directly from a huge deal that places itself on our economy. And that is also not free. It is sold. So as a result, you are also saying that if we can do that and if we can alter some regulations for international company, particularly Starlight, we should think of doing the same for local South African companies. Don't you think that will open the floodgates of exploitation of this well-intentioned piece of regulation?
I think when you look at the nature of what BBBEE is at the moment, it is leading itself to overburden some regulation. It is complicated now. We are hitting a point where the dynamics of our society are vastly different to that of 1994. It doesn't mean that we've achieved complete emancipation. It doesn't mean that we haven't seen some progress. But I really think any law that's now at 30 years needs to be reviewed. So the exploitation that is occurring now in certain instances results in high levels of fronting. It creates distortion in compliance. It makes labor law cumbersome to follow. So if you want the thing to work better, I think it needs a review. So it's not about removing redress. It's about asking the question, how can we do it better for the next generation? Because as we enter into the fifth industrial economy and we look at things like, artificial intelligence, etc., it is going to change the composition and the nature of work. For me, the fundamental question South Africa must ask for itself is, what do we want and what do we want more? That doesn't mean we don't want everything. There are certain things we want more, and we need to incentivize businesses in job creation. We need to incentivize businesses in skilling. We need to invest in our townships, because ultimately, at the end of the day, thanks to technology, people can work, live closer to home. What are incentives that we put into that? Now, if we were to create those as equity equivalents, as an argument, then you could ultimately see yourself achieving the very things you want for South African businesses to be able to do.
Mmusi, is it your impression that Starlink is skipping the queue?
It is, and I think ultimately, I have no there are many different types of technology that we need to be importing into South Africa. Mr. Musk cannot just be the only one, surely. And whether the technology, what's further more important is that as we bring that technology here in South Africa, what are other skills that we need to transfer so that more South Africans can participate? So I would argue that I think the other service providers in this space have a case to be aggrieved, because I'm almost certain many of them have been looking for the same issues to say, how do we address this in so that we can also invest in South Africa? To create special rules for a particular company is, I think, unfair.
Yeah.
And I also do think that this is not, in some ways, there are other companies who have invested in a similar way. This is a unique one in the ICASA regulations and the 30% requirement on equity. I would urge that certainly in a digitized economy of the future, the entire thing needs review so that South African companies can invest and more companies can invest in this
Before I
space.
say goodbye to you, is it not your impression that the benefits outweigh the inconvenience and the skipping of the queue, if you will, not just for Starlink perhaps and for other companies that are keen to come and invest in South Africa? Should we not make an exception under such circumstances, given the dire urgency of much needed injection into our economy?
There's a saying, don't waste a crisis. And I think given that we are now here, this is a great opportunity to review the entire piece of legislation and make sure that the queue is fair for everybody. And I think this is a great crisis for us to debate as South Africans, to attract investment and create employment for people.
Thanks very much for your time. Really appreciate it. The leader of Build One South Africa, Mmusi Maimane. In the next few weeks, we'll be forced to call him Dr. Mmusi Maimane. It's 16 after 10.
When the stakes are high and history is being made, EWN puts you in the front row. From Tidimadia on the ground to expert local analysis, EWN delivers the full picture in real time.
It was preempted that there would be a trap that South Africa walks into. It did. We're told that there'll be golfers on the rule, and there's this interesting back and forth about why they are here, whose behest it is that led to their presence. Government people saying to me a few days ago that it is not at their behest, but they have no issue with the golfers. Interesting messages coming from those delegations, particularly the South African delegation, but of course, Trump pulling his so-called Trump card, if you may, being the visual illustration of his point. But you've got to be able to give President Ramaphosa some props. I think he attempted many a time to explain himself. He attempted to stop himself from being dragged into chaos, but to try and defend particular positions, to speak about the Constitution. He brought in John Steenhuisen and saying, yeah, he's a white man who serves in my government who can speak on the issue of land. And I think that there are people who've applauded, mind you, John Steenhuisen for the comments he made.
Stay with EWN for every question, every headline, every turning point, as it happens, when it happens. Download the EWN app or go to ewn.co.za.
Hey, remember when our office turned into an indoor swimming pool from the flood incident we had?
Oh yeah, feels like it was just yesterday. Luckily, we are with My Way Business Insurance and they kept us afloat despite the soaked carpets.
Talk about an insurer that's got your back no matter the situation.
Agreed. With My Way, we can weather any storm with the ultimate confidence.
Cover your building and office contents hassle-free with MyWay Business Insurance. Visit myway.co.za for a quote and do business your way. MyWay is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's apply.
Prepare for an exhilarating new Hollywood Bets exclusive. You could win big with our exciting new bingo range from Coletta Gaming. Turbocharge your betting experience and enjoy your bounty bonanza when you try Banana Bingo, Bingo Royale, and many more. Chase funky fortunes and get into the groove for a chance to max your numbers. Reap riveting rewards when you log in and play now. Hollywood Bets. It's more fun to bet with us. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bet supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
It's that time of the year. Sore throats, congestion, wet and dry coughs, pain and fever. For trusted relief for you and your family, ask your pharmacist to recommend a winter survival pack from the Adcock Ingram OTC range. With products like Medikil A, Expigen, Corenza Para-C, Adconapamol, Dilinct Junior and more, we have you covered this winter. Remember, Adcock Ingram OTC, sponsors of Brave.
This isn't just a walk, it's a journey through memory, through meaning. The 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane, returns on Sunday, 27 July. Walk from the hallowed grounds of Freedom Park to the southern lawns of the Union buildings and some of our capital city's most iconic landmarks. Choose from 8 kilometer, 6.7 kilometer in honor of Mandela Month, or 4 kilometer for something lighter. Entry is 360 Rand for adults and 200 Rand for kids under 12. Joburg or Pretoria, that's where you would enter, but there's no parking at the start or end, so you need to book your park and ride from Joburg or Pretoria when you enter. Sign up on primemediaplus.com before 26 July. 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane. Walk with meaning. Walk with us.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
Public Interest South Africa is petitioning Parliament, and they are opposing the recent proposal by Minister of Communication and Digital Technology Solly Malatsi to exempt multinational satellite operators from compliance with South Africa's broad-based black economic empowerment, otherwise known as BBEE. And you'd know that it was published and a proposed policy direction to communications regulator ICASA to look into the licensing requirements for satellite operators. And Thabo Shole represents Public Interest South Africa, where he's the chair. He's not taking any of that lightly. Thabo, thanks for your time. Welcome to 702. Good morning to you.
Good morning, and thank you for having me, Mashao.
Thank you. Could say. Let's go straight to it. You are opposing this, and you are not very excited about this. Why do you want to go ahead in this manner? Do you think that the minister is mistaken somehow? If so, how?
Yeah, thanks for that question. And before I respond to it directly, let me just take one step back and just make this overarching statement.
Yes, sir.
It appears to me that in the quest to outdo each political party's members within the GNU, some cabinet members you'd find, especially from the DA, they are likely to want to overreach in terms of their role. We do not dispute the role that the Minister of Communication plays or should play in this space as far as the telecommunications regulations and all that is concerned. But it appears to, from this conduct and the speed with which he seeks to process this issue, which speed is only matched by that when those applicable when the Scorpions were disbanded, will encroach on an area that we believe falls within the purview and space of the Department of Trade and Industry. And if there's no coordination or alignment with government's overall policy, and you find individuals making policy determinations almost like executive orders, as was done by Mr. Rupert, I would imagine also on the back of his knowledge that he probably has got the support of the Minister of Communications, who is a DA member. It's a dangerous territory that we are treading in. And this will lead to the misapplication of equity equivalence, the very same tool that we believe is instrumental and can be applied and should be applied selectively, measurably, but deliberately. And we should be able to find mechanism to measure the efficacy of such instruments.
Wouldn't you agree that urgent times call for urgent measures? Wouldn't you agree that the level of our economy right now, looking at the unemployment rate, looking at the issues that are facing us, we need to tweak and change where possible?
Possibly, and yes, I would agree with that statement. However, it does not mean that we must not conduct ourselves within the confines of the law. We're a democratic country that is premised on the rule of law. And the minute we start making policy pronouncements or passing edicts as on the fly, that's a dangerous situation. We are going to end up with state capture in the manner that we have never seen before, especially with regards to Elon Musk, who does not even set foot in South Africa, but wants to lord over commercial interests that affect the telecommunications sector.
It is very... Sorry, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
And it is very painful because despite the fact that the Independent Communication Association, ICASA, had invited Starlink for consultative engagements a few months ago, I attended those consultative agreements. And despite the fact that Starlink had committed to participate, they withdrew at the 11th hour, ostensibly because they knew that they don't have regard for ICASA. They've got more important and powerful allies in the likes of Mr. Rupert, Mr. Malatsi, and probably even the DA. And that is a dangerous precedent to actually allow, if it is to set in the manner that we see unfold with the published gazette by Mr. Malatsi.
Debohokas, you want Parliament to do what? You are petitioning Parliament to achieve what exactly? What should be the immediate? And I would assume there would be long-term effects as well. But of the immediate, what are some of the key outtakes from there?
Yeah, there's a few recommendations that we seek to make with Parliament. Chief amongst them would be to reassess the role of the DTIC in equity equivalence program governance, and make sure that there's policy coherence and so far as that way. In other words, we seek to have government establish formal interdepartmental protocols to prevent such type of unilateral transformation in claims or programs as we see Minister Malatsi seek to do. That's one. Secondly, to suspend new equity equivalent program approvals pending review. And we're saying this because we need to be able to say that whatever were needs 5 years or 10 years ago that were found to be applicable in the telecommunications subsector may not present now. We need to do a needs analysis and make sure that whatever equivalent programs that we are implemented align with the needs of the country as we see today, insofar as ICT, artificial intelligence, and the strive toward that is concerned.
Yeah, let me not. Oh, sorry about that. I just wanted to include some of our listeners who wanted to interact with you here through their voice notes. You'll go to a third one, but I also wanted you, given that we don't have a lot of time, to reflect on their thoughts once you've heard it. And feel free to send your voice notes to 072 702 1702.
Morning. In terms of Starlink deal, for 50 years or more, we've been very precious about things, and it's all great in the world to stand on principles. But the bottom line is this country is in a shambles because we do not have jobs. We cannot grow the economy. We can't employ our people. You can't eat principles. The man is a total... I can use quite a few words, but this is the reality when you are not, the most powerful country in the world. We need to get our people on jobs. We need to grow our economy. We really need to start getting pragmatic as South Africans, and deal with realities. The world is not the way we like it. Things are not the way we like it. We can't have what we want to have, but it is. For me, the most important thing in our country is to give our people jobs, to create opportunities, to allow people to hope, to have dreams, to make plans for the future. And without a job and a steady income, you can't do that. I really hope that we are practical about this.
Good morning, Thabo. Tyron Randberg. With regards to this interview you're having now with this gentleman who's opposing the Starlink intervention, I just want to leave you with one or two thoughts. The first thought is, keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. That will never happen. That's just the definition of a madman or someone who's got nothing between his ears. The second thought is, remember, and I'll let you use this. You don't even have to quote me for this. Remember, blinkers were designed for racehorses, not humans.
I'll remember to use that at some point, Taryn. Debohokas, we only have about a minute and a half. I don't know if you want to respond to those two voice notes and quickly sneak in the third point that you wanted to do.
The less I say anything about his comments, the better, because I think they've been too uncouth. But suffice to say that at the heart of it all, we are not opposed to equity equivalent or to low Earth orbiting satellite operators such as Starlink operators. In fact, we welcome that. We actually encourage them, including Viasat and many others out there players. But we want a process that is managed, that is transparent, and there's accountability to it. Because if we are going to reach areas, far-flung areas, underserved areas like Lusikisiki, Tikilain in Zanin, and all those far-flung areas, and make sure that government provides services.
Yeah.
Technology, broadband technology is essential. And to do that, we know the limitations of the traditional providers such as Vodacom, Telecom, and all that. And it is the role that we believe the likes of Starlink can plug that gap. And so it is not that we don't want. And we were promised that jobs will be created with the arms deal, with the offsets. You tell me, are there any enduring or jobs that are created linked to that? The answer is, I don't think so, not to the extent that we were promised. So the same thing will happen, especially with Elon Musk, who's want to mislead, misinform, and lie outright about what, just to advance his own personal interests or commercial interests.
That's one issue that we shouldn't forget at all. Thabo Hokas, it's been great having a chat with you. I hope we'll talk to you again in the near future. Thabo Hokas is chairperson of Public Interest South Africa. 10:30 on the dot. Time for Eyewitness News headlines, and we'll hear from Sfiso. What's the very latest?
Thanks, Thabo. Good morning. Police say they are treating a deadly fire in Boksburg on the East Rand as a crime scene. The blaze gutted a family home in Marikana informal settlement in the early hours of this morning, killing 6 people, including a 1-year-old baby. When emergency services arrived, the 4-bedroom shack was already engulfed in flames, with neighbors trying to extinguish it. The families of missing journalist Asiri Ndlovu and his partner Zodwa Mdluli say they are still in the dark about the identity of remains found in Limpopo. The remains believed to be that of the couple were discovered last month, dumped in an isolated area after a suspect in the couple's disappearance case led police to the location. While authorities speculated it may be Ndlovu and Mdluli, DNA tests are yet to be concluded. And President Cyril Ramaphosa says his recent visit to the US came when relations between the two countries were under increasing strain, mainly due to disinformation. Ramaphosa says false narratives about South Africa have been peddled by what he calls fringe groups in both countries, including claims of a so-called genocide and violent campaign against white farmers. The president has written in his weekly newsletter that South Africa has always regarded the US as a strong investment and trading partner and wants to cement the relationship. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, if you're heading towards Bedfordview, there's slow-moving traffic in the Edenvale area. That's the R24 westbound between Edenvale Road and the Kilulis interchange. Also leaving the Joburg CBD. Traffic is a bit sluggish on the M2 westbound between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road. In the Craig Hall Park area heading towards Sandton, that's Hurlingham. There's slow-moving traffic. This is on Winnie Mandela Drive between Republic and Sandton Drive. So please allow for extra traveling time if you're heading into Sandton at this stage. There's also faulty traffic lights in Alex at Marlborough Drive and Far East Bank. If you come across any other traffic issues, please SMS us on 31702. We are also on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Are you a social entrepreneur changing lives, uplifting communities, and making a real difference? Santam, Fair Lady, and True Love are looking for you. The 2025 Social Entrepreneur. They are celebrating women who lead with purpose and build with heart. If your work is making a difference, this is your moment to be seen, supported, and celebrated. Win national recognition, expert mentorship, and 75,000 Rand cash from Santam. Plus incredible prizes. Enter today at womenofthefuture.co.za. Entries close 13 June. Claim your space. Create your legacy.
Excuse me, can I speak to someone in charge?
Of course, sir, at your service.
My wife came here to buy masking tape yesterday, but came home with rubber ducks, picture frames, hula hoops, and jelly beans.
Yes, sir, that does tend to happen.
Well, this keeps happening. Oh, is that glitter glue for $19.99?
Indeed, sir.
And chattering teeth, also $19.99?
The crazy store.
A solar garden light for $49.99. A horoscope keychain for $19.99. Barbie toys for $19.99.
Hey, you never know what you might find.
A sponge for the bath for $29.99.
You know, ever since I adopted positive energy saving behaviors, the national grid is thanking me. You should also adopt this lifestyle and your pocket will thank you too. Simply switch off non-essential appliances and lights when they're not in use. Reduce your geyser temperature to 60 degrees Celsius. Replace inefficient lights with LED lights. These are some of the ways you can use electricity wisely to help sustain our energy grid and contribute to a greener planet. Just like every rand counts, every kilowatt counts. Let's use electricity wisely. Eskom.
This week on 702, RMB Africa Focus turns its attention to one of the key lifelines of the continent's growth, trade and investment. Join award-winning journalist Crystal Otterson for insightful conversations on how intra-Africa trade, regional value chains and strategic capital flows are unlocking long-term growth across the continent. That's RMB Africa Focus on 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa on Tuesday and 702 Drive with John Perlman on Thursday. RMB is a proud sponsor of B20. RMB, a leading African corporate and investment bank.
Join us.
Let's walk the talk.
This is 702.
In the previous half hour, we had a very interesting chat with Mmusi Maimane of Build One South Africa and Thabo Shole of Public Interest South Africa. And they were just lamenting the issue of the minister having to exempt multinational satellite operators from compliance with South Africa's broad-based black economic empowerment legislation. So both of them had quite interesting views to put forward. A number of you are saying, listen, we can have the loveliest legislation ever, but without jobs. What does that mean? Let's make an exception. We can't eat our principles. That's one voice note that came through. Speaking of voice notes, Abel, I think I just skipped one earlier on. Can we just please quickly go back to it? And it came through on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Thabo. Your guest there in the studio with regard to this satellite thing, Thabo here in Tshwane. I think most people who have medical aid and they're taking their children to private school and they live in South African suburbia, it's so easy for them to still want this BEE thing to happen, whilst the majority of the people in South Africa, they do not have jobs. What's important is that if we are able to get foreign direct investment in South Africa, they don't have to do BEE deals, in my humble opinion, as long as employment is being taken care of and we're able to put a dent on the employment issue in South Africa. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I mean, the conversation continues. Let us know what your thoughts are here on 702. But now we shift the focus just a little bit and we will be looking at the Spaza shop sector. You'd know that the city of Joburg is embarking on roadshows starting to promote the Spaza Shop Support Fund. It's about 500 million rand worth of this fund, and it launched last month. And it's really meant to support rural and township Spaza shops with financial and non-financial support. And shortly, we'll look into it. We are told that a number of Spaza shops are not taking this up. Why is that the case? 23 minutes to 11.
702 Podcast
on primemediaplus.com.
Benji Sitlamo is my guest, acting director in the Department of Economic Development at the city of Johannesburg. Thank you so much for joining us, good sir. Welcome to 702.
Thank you so much for the invitation and for having me in the show.
Let's just take a few steps back because not everyone, I suppose, has been following this very closely. We often speak about Spaza shops when really the industry is on flames and you need a quick fire extinguisher. So a number of people may not be well aware with the issues here. Why firstly, the fund? And if you can just speak about that. And I know that you are restricted to the city of Joburg. That's quite okay with us. But tell us a little bit about the fund and its intents and what it contains.
Yeah, so thank you for the invitation. So we are working with, obviously, the Department of Small Business and Development at the DTIC in issuing out this Spaza Shop Fund to local Spaza shop owners in the city of Johannesburg. Here we are talking about locals, meaning nationals, South African nationals, who are compliant in terms of the bylaws of the city of Johannesburg and are then able to access this fund through an application that they would have to do online. So there are certain criteria that the Department of Small Business and Development have identified, and I don't want to speak to that because that's their command. But what I want to speak about as the City of Johannesburg is that we are supporting the fund, we are supporting our local Spaza shop owners to be compliant and to qualify for the fund. And how do we do that? We make sure that we expedite the applications for those who are compliant. However, unfortunately for us, we, through the capturing of the hard copies that we have received, the applications, we have realized that the majority of our applicants are not compliant. However, we are by law required to assist and make sure that some of them who honestly their infringements are not that much are able to be assisted by the city through various mitigations for them to be able to apply for this fund.
Do we have an impression? Forgive me, good sir. Do we have an impression as to how many are compliant percentage-wise, given the vastness of the city, and what are the key issues that make them not to comply? Those that are not, of course.
Yeah. So let me give an example of Region D, which is where we are. Because I'm in a public meeting currently.
Okay.
So far we've captured manually, because we do have two systems, a manual system and an online system.
Yeah.
So with the manual system that we are using to capture the hard copies we've received so far, in terms of Region D, Soweto, we've captured 228 applications so far, but we continue to capture. This is not a true reflection of Soweto, the number of Spaza shops in Soweto. So far we've captured 228. And then from those 228, only 50 applications have a health certificate and a fire certificate. So this gives you a picture that people are not compliant.
Yeah, only 50 out of 228.
228.
Yeah.
228, you only have 50 Spaza shops that have health and fire certificate. And then out of that 228, you only have 17 that have a fire certificate and not a health certificate. But then also that shows you that there's issues there, because how do you then, as a Spaza shop applicant, receive a fire certificate while you have not actually, yes, how do you receive a COA, a health certificate, if you've not satisfied a fire certificate compliance? Because there are stages to this compliance issues. You need to get your business plan, you need to get your business approval. Sorry about that, because there are people tweeting me that disturbing me. You need to get your Spaza shop plan approved by the Department of Development Planning. Once you've done that, the second stage will be for the fire department to visit your site, your business operations, make sure that you are fire compliant, and then issue you out with a fire certificate. Once they've done that, the next department in line will be environmental health, who will then also do an assessment using the two permits that you've already received in advance. Make sure that you then get your environmental health, meaning that you are able to handle food and sell food to people.
Sure.
So those are the three stages. And then the last stage that economic development will do, we will then issue out with a Spaza shop permit, having satisfied all the three stages. However, some people have managed to skip those processes. How? We don't know. So it shows that there are a lot of criminal activities happening.
I was just about to say that we know. We know.
Yes. We know.
Yeah.
Criminal activities. We know also that there's a lot of invalid documents, fake documents that we've received in the vetting and verification process. Hence, the vetting and verification process is so critical and important to this process, because we have identified gaps there. We have identified people, locals and non-South African, who have submitted fake documents to us.
Yeah.
And hence, the vetting process is a bit slower, because we need to make sure.
So Ntate Tamo, I have little time,
Yes,
and I appreciate your context. It's very important to me. I just want, now, thus far, I mean, that sounded like 24%, if my maths is correct, of those who had those two critical certificates. But those who've received permits thus far, I assume, now eligible to benefit from the fund. Where is that number? What percentage is where are we as far as that is? Everyone who's completely compliant.
So Khosi, here's the challenge. So the people that have submitted that 50-50 from the 200 just speaking of Region D, Soweto.
Yes.
The Department of Development Planning is still busy with vetting and verifying their building plans.
Yeah.
Because remember, there's also violations there. Our people have built beyond the boundary.
Yeah.
As Spaza shop, also, you are not supposed A Spaza shop is not supposed to be owned in terms of the bylaws by a non-South African. A Spaza shop is a house shop that is supposed to be owned by a homeowner, a South African. But if the minute you find a non-South African, there's already a bylaw violation. And actually, if you then you want to rent out your Spaza shop to a foreigner, you must then do a rezoning application where we then zone your Spaza shop as a business. Now, it's no longer a house shop.
Yeah.
So we're dealing with these issues, and these issues have affected the vetting and verification process and slowed down. So we are at the point, Minero, where we've not even issued one permit because our people are not compliant.
So there are plenty of questions coming through, and I don't want to monopolize our discussion and monopolize your time here by just interacting with you. A number of our listeners have sent through questions, and I urge you to do the same. You may want to find out if you comply and what are other processes. Feel free to send a voice note to 072 702 1702, and to that very same number, you can also text your message. Alternatively, call us on 011-883 0702. Let me start first with a written question, if you will, Abel. It says, Thabo, please ask how applications received both manually and electronically versus those captured. Pep, I don't know if you understand that question. Coming from Lungi.
No, I understand it. So in Thabo, we've received applications manually for now, because at that point we did not have an online portal system. However, because now we do have a portal system, currently the Spaza shop applications we've received, we are now uploading into the portal system. So that the second phase, what we're going to do, we're going to announce to the public and say, you can now apply online. That way they can then apply through the portal system instead of coming to our regional offices and submitting hard copies. But for now, we have not opened up that system for the public to use. In terms of the applications that we've received so far, since the opening process, the registration process, I can talk to you about 2,500 from the city of Johannesburg as a whole.
2,500. Let's take a voice note on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Thabo. I have a question for your guest. May you please ask what is the definition of a Spaza shop? And follow up to that, what types of businesses is this limited to? Benji Mayatim, thank you.
Thanks. Benji Sitlamo?
The first one I can answer, the second one is a bit confusing. So the first one, as I've said at the top, a Spaza shop is a house shop. A shop that is next to your shop that you build inside your yard. And in terms of requirement, it's not supposed to be more than 20 square meters in terms of the size. We can allow, the city can waive and maybe say 25 square meters. That's a house shop, a shop that's in your residential area. There are obviously bylaw requirements that you're not supposed to be sleeping in it, you're not supposed to be doing all sorts of things in it. But that shop is supposed to be also owned by the homeowner. I spoke earlier about you that if the homeowner decides to rent it out, then it changes into a business. And then there are also requirements for that to qualify. You must do the rezoning and so forth. The second one is confusing. I'm not getting the question. Maybe you can clarify it for me.
We will just go back to that one in a short while. It's 12 minutes to 11 o'clock. You are on 702.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9. How soon before it is common for even middle class to move around with bodyguards? It used to be that criminals only wanted the possessions you were carrying or even maybe your car. These days, they abduct you to clean out your bank accounts, to force you to take out loans. Is law enforcement on top of this, or are we just sitting ducks?
We are playing catch-up all the time. These syndicates are becoming far more sophisticated. Unfortunately, it is catch-up game.
Yasin Director at Vision Tactical.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9 on 702.
Sunday, 15 June at Narok Sculpture Park in the Cradle of Humankind is a place to celebrate our fathers, grandfathers, stepfathers, father figures, fathers past, and fathers to be. Along with the day's entertainment, Epicurean Emporium offers a diverse range of exceptional culinary fare, courtesy of some of the finest food and dessert traders, while Benny's Bar will ensure guests are elegantly hydrated with an array of bubbles, wines, and cocktails during this midwinter celebration. Limited tickets are available from the NiroxArts.com. Nirox is a private, not-for-profit foundation to benefit the arts. All income is used to maintain the grounds, the artist residency program, and artist support.
The best thing about Decofern furniture is that it isn't just furniture. A table isn't just a table. It's Mom's cooking. A bed's more than a bed.
She's asleep.
It's where we keep our dreams. Even a couch can hold the biggest victories. Make more amazing memories with Decofern Furniture's best for less deals on top-selling items. In-store now or online at decofurnsa.co.za.
Whether you own a startup in Sandton or a Spaza shop in Soweto, Standard Bank has the solutions to grow your business. For just R9 per month, our MyMoBiz business account gives you access to free online banking and a team of business experts. Our Simply Blue Pro card machine enables you to accept payments anytime, anywhere. Search Standard Bank MyMoBiz and Simply Blue to amplify the growth of your business today. Standard Bank is an authorized FSB and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
The future of African infrastructure is being built now. Infrastructure South Africa presents the Sustainable Infrastructure Development Symposium South Africa 2025 from 25 to 27 May at the Century City Convention Center in Cape Town. Catch the Clement Manyathela Show live from the symposium on Tuesday with Infrastructure South Africa as they showcase infrastructure investment opportunities in both SA and the African continent. Don't miss all the highlights, live updates, and more. That's the Clement Manyathela Show, live from the Sustainable Infrastructure Development Symposium South Africa 2025 on tomorrow. Brought to you by Infrastructure South Africa on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
7:02 indeed, 9 minutes to 11 o'clock. If you've just joined us, we are speaking about the Spaza space, Spaza sector, if you will. There is a fund worth about 500 million rand. It was launched last month, and it aims to assist township and rural entrepreneurs with financial and non-financial support. And we are speaking now to Mr. Benji Sitlamo, who's acting director in the Department of Economic Development in the city of Johannesburg. He's my guest, and we are trying to find out how many Spaza shops are benefiting or stand to benefit from this fund. How viable is this fund? What is the state of our Spaza shops? And let's not wait for urgent and emergency situations to come out first before we speak about this very important sector. Mr. Sitlamo, I'll be just taking some few questions from our listeners, but just generally, as we are speaking right now, on the 26th of May 2025, if you were to hand out some financial and non-financial help to qualifying Spaza shops in the city of Johannesburg, how many would there be? Those who qualify completely?
None.
Heaven.
Unfortunately. And it's because of the vetting process and also the issues that I've identified earlier of invalid documents and so forth. So we are busy doing the vetting and verification.
So zero qualifies in the city of Johannesburg?
If you follow the bylaw to the letter.
Yes.
As it is. Zero.
And how the number of anticipated Spazas, you did mention 223, and both you and I agree
No,
that,
that's for
Soweto.
Those for Soweto.
No, I was just about to say, even if it's for Soweto, you and I would agree that that's not a true reflection. What would you anticipate it to be generally in the city of Joburg?
If you look at the previous numbers where our colleagues from environmental health were doing their COAs, which is also known as a health certificate, we're talking about 5,000 Spaza shops at that time. We do have the data of those Spaza shops that had registered for COAs, which is only that one part of the compliance, the partial compliance of having a health certificate so that you are able to handle food as a Spaza shop. However, those Spaza shops owners that we had, that database, not all of them came to register. So we are fully aware of the city of Johannesburg that currently there are still Spaza shop owners who are operating illegally. Hence, we are continuing with the compliance monitoring, we are continuing with the inspections, and we're also continuing with closing off. I'm sure you must just drive around Soweto and Ara. You'll see a number of Spaza shops have closed because we need to close them. We need to issue them out with the notice in line with the directive by the executive mayor, in line with the directive.
Now, what's going to happen to this fund in the city if zero Spazas are compliant?
No. So hence we are expediting, and hence we've been calling this regional stakeholder engagement meetings because that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that our locals qualify for this fund. We want to make sure that at least by the first or second week of July, we would have issued out at least 200 or 250 temporary Spaza shop permits as a mitigation, so that we allow our people to be able to access this fund. This funding is very important to our people, and we don't want them to be excluded based on bylaws. But also, we want our people to follow the law because it's important for them to follow the law.
Let's
doing
quickly
everything that is.
Apologies. Let me quickly bring in some listeners, if you don't mind, because I would like you to respond to what they're asking. 072-702-1702.
Hi, Thabo and the 702 land. This is Louis speaking here. I just want to find out something. Based on what your guest has just said, it sounds like it's like definitely a mission to get a tax shop registered. Now, my question is actually, what is the tax shop? How do I ask this? How was the tax shop designed? Was it designed to be like a professional business or just a simpler way of someone trying to survive? Because it like, as he says, it's like it's very, very difficult to get through all those vetting and application and everything. Thanks, sir.
Good morning, Thabo. So they say a Spaza shop is supposed to be owned by a homeowner. What if a South African who is unemployed also doesn't have a home, doesn't own a home? Does that mean they cannot run or own a Spaza shop? They have to rent it, and then it has to be rezoned as a business. Whilst is a South African who is desperate, unemployed, and does not have their own home because they can't afford it.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Benjisi Tlamo, please respond to that. We don't have a lot of time, sir. If you don't if you don't mind condensing into a minute. Yeah.
So, Dr. Thabo, bylaws are bylaws. Unfortunately, whether you are a South African or non-South African, bylaws are bylaws. So, even though you are a South African and you do not have your own home and you want to run a Spaza shop, then you'll have to rent it out from another South African. Then that will then have to be rezoned into a business. That's a bylaw. It's not me. It's not personal feelings. It's a bylaw that must be followed to the letter. We want to enforce bylaws in the city of Johannesburg, and we are starting with this sector. The other sectors are following. You will see that we are also busy in the inner city with the informal trading permit, where we want to enforce bylaws in the inner city. So whether you are South African or not, we must follow the bylaws. In terms of a Spaza shop, I want to reiterate, I've said it, a Spaza shop is a house shop. How you want to run it as an owner, it's all up to you. If you want to treat it as a professional setup or you want to treat it as a hustle, it's all up to you. But we as the city of Johannesburg have a bylaw that you must follow if you want to own or run a Spaza shop in the city of Johannesburg. And I'm hoping that our people will also play their part as we continue to assist them with making sure that they are compliant. And at the moment, hence we have this regional stakeholder engagements where we will be going region to region, from region A to region G, engaging with our people, engaging with the locals to ensure that those that are at least partially compliant, we assist them to be fully compliant so that they can be able to access the funding. Those who are not compliant, for us to assist them to make sure that they start to be compliant. That's the intention of this.
Really appreciate your time. We should do it again very soon. This is very important. Benjisi Tlamo, Acting Director in the Department of Economic Development in the city of Johannesburg, 2 to 11.
In times like these, everyone is looking to save wherever they can. But you don't have to be a detective to know that with Outsurance, you could be saving big on your car insurance. Hear it from real Outsurance client Marius.
The great big saving that I've got, 765 Rand, 27% a month on my premium. It's so quick and easy to swap over. I am part of the Outsurance family.
It's a no-brainer. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Saving on car insurance makes you feel like a winner. And the best part is, if Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash. And make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
It's one small step for mankind, one giant leap for DIY kind. Prepare for liftoff with the famous Chamberlain Carnival, bringing you out-of-this-world deals from 22 May to 1 June. Strap in for 11 days of savings across power tools, paint, gardening and more. Enjoy 20% off paint mixing. Meet the Dulux dogs and let the little ones grab free popcorn and candy floss. Plus, you stand a chance to win your share of 90,000 Rand in Chamberlain gift vouchers. Blast off! Chamberlain, famous for hardware since 1903.
Some walks are just for exercise, others for leisure. But this walk is for something greater.
It's team building.
This July, you won't just take a step, you'll take a stand. You'll walk through history. You'll walk with it. On Sunday, 27 July, the 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane, returns. It's a route that winds through the heart and soul of our capital city. From the sacred grounds of Freedom Park to the powerful steps of the Union buildings. Choose the 8 kilometer for those walking strong, the 6.7 kilometer in honor of Mandela Month, or the 4 kilometer for families and first-timers. Entries are 360 Rand for adults, 200 Rand for children under 12. Enter now on primemediaplus.com. 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane, is where footsteps become footprints.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Police say they are treating a deadly fire in Boksburg on the East Rand as a crime scene. The blaze gutted a family home in Marikana informal settlements in the early hours of this morning, killing 6 people, including a 1-year-old baby. When emergency services arrived, the 4-bedroom shack was already engulfed in flames, with neighbors trying to extinguish it. Mongezi Koko has more from the East Rand.
The entire area has been cordoned off, with crime scene experts going through what's left of the 4-roomed shack piece by piece. Along with dozens of onlookers, I'm standing just outside the burnt structure where 6 family members, including a 1-year-old, perished in the early hours of this morning. Only a 7-year-old girl survived. She is in hospital with critical burns. A forensic pathologist is expected on scene shortly, as police now treat this as a criminal investigation. Ekurhuleni EMS spokesperson William Ntladi.
The smallest was the toddler of about 1.5 years of age. So unfortunately, they were declared dead on scene by the paramedics.
Investigators have not yet confirmed the cause of the fire. Mongezi Koko, Eyewitness News, Marikana Informal Settlement on the East Rand.
The families of missing journalist Aseri Ndlovu and his partner Zodwa Mdluli say they are still in the dark about the identity of remains found in Limpopo. The remains, believed to be that of the couple, were discovered last month, dumped in an isolated area after a suspect in the couple's disappearance case led police to the location. While authorities speculated it may be Ndlovu and Mdluli, DNA tests are yet to be concluded. The couple went missing in February this year. Thandoluhle Ngobo has more.
The couple vanished in February this year. 4 suspects have been charged with kidnapping and murder of the missing couple and will be making an appearance at the KwaMhlanga Magistrates Court in Mpumalanga this week. Without the forensic report, it's unclear whose murder they are charged with. Despite efforts to fast-track the process, the families say they are worried about the drawn-out process. The families say the addition of murder charges to rap sheets of the accused has only added to the confusion. EWN understands that police are still looking for more suspects in connection to the crimes. However, police say they are confident they are close to solving the case. Thandoluhle Ngobo, Eyewitness News.
Water and Sanitation Minister Maimane has dismissed claims that the closure of the Lesotho Highlands Water Tunnel has contributed to the recent challenges in parts of Gauteng when it comes to supply. The tunnel, which transports water from Lesotho to South Africa, had been out of operation since October last year for scheduled maintenance and refurbishment program. Maimane officially reopened it yesterday with water again flowing between the two countries. Alfara Mushwana reports.
As parts of Gauteng continue to face water supply challenges, some have attributed the problems to the closure of the Lesotho Highlands Water Tunnel. However, Water and Sanitation Minister Maimane says there is more than enough water to service all Gauteng households, adding that the issue lies with infrastructure capacity.
We have supplied bulk, but the challenge is reticulation and provision thereof, which is not our mandate as Department of Water and Sanitation.
She adds that in some cases, there seems to be no political will in municipalities to address the aging water infrastructure. Meanwhile, the Lesotho Highlands Water Tunnel is now supplying the Vaal River integrated system after 7 months of being out of service. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News in the Free State.
And President Cyril Ramaphosa says his recent visit to the US came when relations between the two countries were under increasing strain, mainly due to disinformation. Ramaphosa says false narratives about South Africa have been peddled by what he calls fringe groups in both countries, including claims of a so-called genocide and violent campaigns against white farmers. The president has written in his weekly newsletter that South Africa has always regarded the US as a strong investment and trading partner and wants to cement the relationship. Babalondenza reports.
President Cyril Ramaphosa undertook a working visit to the United States last week at the invitation of President Donald Trump to strengthen relations between the two countries. But the visit was marred by claims of so-called white genocide, which almost overshadowed key trade discussions. Ramaphosa says in this context, it was critical for South Africa to engage directly with the US administration to correct the disinformation and provide a true account of the situation and complex challenges. He says while this was a necessary conversation, the overarching aim of the visit was to deepen strategic economic partnership with the US as the country's second largest trading partner. Ramaphosa says the US is a key export market for South African goods, which include motor vehicles and increasingly critical minerals. Babalo Ndenze, Eyewitness News.
Gold is trading at $3,334.30 an ounce. The rand is at 17.85 to the dollar, 24.23 to the pound, 20.35 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $65.01 a barrel.
Well, at this stage, if you're leaving the Joburg CBD, there's slow-moving traffic in the Selby area, M2 westbound between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road. There's also faulty traffic lights that's causing some delays in the Alex area, Marlborough Drive and Far East Bank. Also, there's also bumper-to-bumper traffic heading towards the intersection of Beyers Naudé and the N01. That's due to faulty traffic lights in the Rand Park Ridge area.
A fine day in store for Gauteng today. The temperatures will peak at highs between 21 and 23 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Police say they are treating a deadly fire in Boksburg on the East Rand as a crime scene.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. Choose the 8 kilometer for those walking strong, the 6.7 kilometer in honor of Mandela Month, or the 4 kilometer for families and first timers in 702's Walk the Talk. Tickets on primemediaplus.com.
702.
Live
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Seven minutes after 11 o'clock. Thanks very much for joining us here on 702. My name is Thabo Shole Mashao. I'm in for Clement. We're together till 12. Great having you with us. We had a very productive discussion about the Spaza Shops Fund in the past half hour or so. And I truly enjoyed your questions because they were directed at someone who's at the center of it all, and they were very pointed. I think it's a very important sector that we must really take seriously, especially if we are concerned about local economy and township economy, because that's where jobs will be created. 8 after 11 in this hour, though. It's Family Matters. I'll tell you all about it.
702
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
I mean, all of us come from some families or the other, right? It's pretty basic. And I was just interested in knowing your family traditions, and these could be rituals and special moments, big or small, that help us to shape our family identity in one way or the other. Or they also help us to build connections and create lasting memories. Anyone who comes from a home that celebrates family traditions can easily attest to the powerful bonding potential of these occasions. It's a moment in which your family commits to spending quality time together. With time and a little effort, every family now and then tries to come together and define it for who they are. It could be the Mazibugos, it could be them Timkulus, it could be the Smiths, the Gordons, it could be the McNeils, it could be the, Fanemerves, it could be the Huosens. But generally, we do have that peculiar stamp or mark of identity about us. It could be that for birthdays, we gather, come hell or high water, and do something special. It could be that if there's a funeral, God forbid, or someone has passed on, or a bereavement of any sort, we all buy black blankets and we have a vigil somehow on a Thursday and we drink tea. And some of these rituals and these traditions, by the way, are not written down. And many of them just morphed into becoming rituals and traditions. I'm interested in knowing about your family and those traditions. That stuff that defines you, that make you who you are as a family. Despite your shortcomings, despite your internal issues, but there's something specifically that make you who you are. These traditions can connect family members to one another and to themselves. What are some of your family traditions? Share with us. I want to know. Why is creating a family tradition important to you? 011 883 0702. 011 883 0702. 11 after 11, and Tuto Lepoto is parenting coach. Tuto joins us right now on 702. Tuto, hi. Welcome to 702.
Good morning, Thabo. Thank you so much for having me today.
I'm thrilled to have you because this may not seem as a very fashionable topic on the backdrop of a plethora of very volatile topics in South Africa, from the Oval Office to crime and everything else. But this is at the heart of things that make the world what it is, because a family is a very important unit of the entire globe, isn't it, Tuto? So how would you define a family tradition or ritual? What is it in simple terms?
Thank you for asking that question. I think that's the foundation of it all. You're certainly right about that. What is critically important, Thabo, to note here as families and as a population, as a community, is before we get to traditions, there's a culture. And traditions then become sort of like a train that runs on the culture that has been developed. So normally how I define it as a mechanism developed that is believed, that is also valued to be a way of life. That is how best we can define it. It is mechanisms that are in our family structures have been built, and we have believed them, and we have placed certain values on them, that they should be a way of life. And we begin to start living our life, doing our things, and, in all different aspects of life on the basis of such mechanism that exists.
And do they somehow help us to navigate the paths of life a little bit easier when there's a bereavement, when there is perhaps a jubilant moment? Do rituals and traditions help us to observe those moments accordingly? Because at times we are just at odds. We are at sixes and sevens, not knowing what to do when there's something. But when there's a family tradition, we do know that even though we are mourning, there are steps that we take there towards that direction?
I think that the most important thing to note as well, there, Thabo, when it comes to tradition, your rituals and your culture collectively in one bucket, two elements stand out that we need to be very cautious of: values and beliefs. Because remember that traditions, they lead us in a particular direction. So they compel us to follow a particular order, of which basically my own personal definition of rituals, I always say rituals are just acts, random acts of performed according to specification. So when there's a tradition that exists in each family, there's already a specification. That tradition is a specification of a way that we follow to do things. As you said, that particular Mazibugo of Vandermeer family, they have those traditions in place, but it's critically important to understand that, as ingredients to the tradition and the culture and the ritual, it's important for us to see what values and beliefs do we place into those traditions, to see if those values are still, because my key element is relevance. We can have traditions in our families, we can have rituals that we do in our families, but how relevant are they within the family setting to taking us to where, or to achieving that which we have them exist for within our families?
I'm wondering, how do we practically speak about those rituals, those traditions that we have? Do you have some examples? I'm thinking of a few, but I could just be offline. You're an expert here to donate me. I'm just thinking that obviously the quickest one that comes to my mind is when there is a bereavement in a family. We come together, and for those days, you do know that you should be spending, without being told, you should be spending time with your relatives or your bereaved family member, or at that particular household. So you would become a regular there than ordinarily, right, prior to the bereavement. And secondly, you do know without being told that you need to take something there, be it a bucket of cakes or anything else. You do know that on a Friday or a day prior to the actual funeral, you need to be there at night because there'll be some sort of service that happens. What are some of the rituals? And I'm giving you perhaps the most extreme. There could be very moderate and mild rituals and traditions that families have carved for themselves, which and some of them may be even pleasant. Tuto?
See, for me, what is very important to note as well, in that question that you're posing is, there is a very thin line in terms of these traditions. The thin line comes when we have to ask ourselves a question: where do we take these traditions from? Normally, when I do my work and I help families, most of the time I ask this question because it's important to understand that there are inherited traditions that we who are practicing them now actually cannot explain why they are being done. And at times, the very same become a factor that distorts whatever unity or whatever that we are trying to achieve as a family. Let there be an event, for instance. Let's use the example you just used of a funeral. I may be coming from a background where I was never taught that when there is a bereavement or there is a funeral somewhere, we go there even during the week. I might be coming from a background where I was taught you go there to a funeral and you only go if you are invited or you are told about the funeral. You don't just go there, right? So if I've come from that background, I can be looking like a sinister person to other people when they consistently go throughout the week to comfort the family and I'm not going. I might look like a person who is probably heartless, yet it is there. So it's important for us to understand and really scrutinize to see where these traditions coming from within our families that we're practicing. Are they inherited, traditions? If they are inherited traditions that we just copied, we saw our grandfathers, our grandmothers, our parents doing them, perhaps it's about time as families to sit down and say, hey, man, what about these traditions? Why do we follow these traditions? What was the reason behind our parents following this tradition? So that when we practice these traditions, we practice them on the premises of understanding and knowing exactly what we are doing and why we are doing it for the benefit of everybody who is actually involved or affected by that.
Tuto Lepoto is my guest, and Tuto is a parenting coach. We're talking about the importance of creating family traditions and rituals. How can those benefit you as a unit of society? And this is on the backdrop of our weekly feature that you know very well called Family Matters. And today we're just looking at the importance of creating those family traditions and rituals to celebrate, to mourn, and just to observe any other moment. Do you have those? What do you do in your own family when there's an occasion to mourn or to celebrate? And who came up with that? How did it come about? I'd love to hear from you on 011-883-0702, 011-883-0702.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to 6.
Elon Musk and his bid to get Starlink licensed and operating in South Africa has been part of the conversation. He has a massive business empire, and yet this seems to matter to him. Is it commercial or is it personal?
It certainly seems to be personal when it comes to Julius Malema. We know that he has tweeted on many occasions in the past about Mr. Malema and his Kill the Boer singing of the Kill the Boer song and other incendiary remarks that he's made. Musk has frequently retweeted.
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
Hi, I'm Dion Free. Winning requires audacity. That's why I joined African Bank and opened a 60-month fixed-term investment account. I'm scoring 12.8% interest at expiry on my investment. How cool is that? You too can join the bank that backs you to grow your money. Pop into a branch near you or visit africanbank.co.za. African Bank. Audacity to believe. African Bank is a licensed financial services and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Oh, Shane, do you have a sore throat? The Andalex range of lozenges offers two options. At the first signs of an irritated, scratchy throat, use Andalex lozenges for dual-action, soothing relief. But for a painful, inflamed throat, use Andalex C lozenges for triple-action, pain relief. Andalex, SA's #1 choice for a sore mouth and throat. Andalex lozenges are available at all leading pharmacies and supermarkets.
Just Andalex it. To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
Infrastructure South Africa presents the Sustainable Infrastructure Development Symposium South Africa, happening from 25 to 27 May at the Century City Convention Centre in Cape Town. Catch the Clement Manyathela Show live from the symposium on Tuesday as ISA showcases infrastructure investment opportunities in both SA and African continent. Don't miss all the highlights, live updates and more. Plus a key special note address from President Cyril Ramaphosa. Brought to you by Infrastructure South Africa on 702.
Join us.
Let's walk the talk.
This is 702.
Tuto Lepoto is parenting coach and Tuto is my guest here on 702. Family Matters, the importance of creating family traditions and rituals. That's our topic right now. And what are some of the traditions and rituals that you observe as a member of the family? Let's go straight to your thoughts and your text messages that came on 072702 1702. This one says, why are traditions built on culture? I've personally seen families with vastly different cultural backgrounds that have the same or similar traditions, especially true and topical in mixed cultural families. Tuto?
See, it's very important. Remember in the beginning, I actually incorporated culture on purpose because many traditions that we see being used or being applied in our family, it's all based on culture. And for me, it's very important for us to really look deep into it to say these cultures or these traditions that we are practicing, where do they come from? Where are they taking us? Because it is true and it's reality to say, to note rather, that at times some of these traditions and these cultures that we practice in our families without thorough knowledge of where they come from and where they're taking us are actually the reason for some of the conflicts that we see in our family. My key word there always is relevance. We need to have a testing stick to see how relevant are these cultures and these traditions to our modern day that they can be applicable in our current state or our modern day setting in our family. Are they still serving us? If they are not serving us, then we need to come back as a family and say, hey guys, this is what we have been practicing and we took it from our parents. Is it still serving us? Is it still taking us the direction that we want to take as a family? Or we are now in conflict because some would be like, but I don't see the reason for this.
Yeah.
I don't see the need for this. How is this serving me? And then somebody will be like, because sometimes you find that for instance, there are certain things that we have occasions in our families. And at certain occasions, people back then would see it fit and important that they come and collaborate and bring some things together, as you said, when you made an example about a funeral. But somebody would be sitting here and thinking, I don't think it's necessary anymore for me to buy cold drinks and bring them. Or somebody would be like, I don't think it's necessary for me to have a sleepless night being at a place where there is an occasion, cooking throughout the night, preparing. We might as well have somebody else do that for us. So those traditions then start to become a conflict or a point of conflict within the family members. So very critically important. It is each and every family's responsibility to sit down and say, hey guys, what are the traditions that we are following? How long have we been following them? Let's look at the track record of these traditions and these cultures and these rituals. How are they serving us? And are they still relevant going forward? And I think from that point, they will be able to then determine whether they need to adjust or scrap or even renew.
So these rituals and cultural practices and various form of the traditions that we spoke about, they could be a source of division more than unity.
Sure.
They could pull us apart as a family, as relatives. They could take this one there, the other there, and the other may actually feel that as they were growing up, they have met a new path in life that doesn't perhaps allow them to observe ancestral rituals at home. Perhaps they could say, I'm a born-again Christian and I don't subscribe to that anymore. And I've never been comfortable with it. So count me out. And it could be that those who've been doing it and subscribing it to it for years and years may take offense and perhaps seek to exclude someone who has thought different about that ritual matter.
Absolutely. The example that you just put down there, it's a classic one. We do have cases like that. Even worse, we've got cases where, if you remember back in the days, we were never at liberty. So much has changed in terms of the family configuration and how things are done. Remember when we were growing up, you could never sit and talk to your parents easily. You could never discuss issues that pertained or critical, family issues with your parents. You will be told what to do. Even with career, we never had much of a choice at the time. You would follow what the parents would be recommending towards you. Remember back in the days that you will get a hiding. There are things have changed. If that is the type of upbringing and the structure and the configuration that exists in the family back then, it might not be relevant now. Giving your children a hiding like we did get a hiding today is no longer relevant. We're raising a different generation. We have a different configuration in our families where, life and parenting and bringing up and putting together the family is no longer more about being aggressive, but it's more conversational. So the factors at play also have changed. So yeah, true, very true. we have a serious, problem at hand that we need to take, into consideration and make sure that we address and understand that we need to sit down and say, hey, this is now the case as compared to previously. How do we then work together as a family to ensure that even though there are these traditions or these cultures that we practice, but everybody, because regardless of what we believe in, we're still members of the same family. How do we work together amidst of this to ensure that everyone is comfortable with whatever value and whatever beliefs that they hold on to?
Yeah, and I'm just wondering how perhaps we should attempt to make them as religiously agnostic as possible so as not to offend or exclude others. But Tuto will just come back to that in a short while. Very quickly, let me go through this text message that came through on 072 702 1702. It comes from D. And D says, Thabo and the good doctor there, when we are all together with my parents, be rest assured we will have dinner comprising kgogo, yabo tata, come Saturdays. How now you're putting me in a fix here. I need to translate all of this, interpret all of this. Well, I'll give it a go. So, and D says, when we're all together with my parents, be rest assured we'll have dinner comprising of kgogo ya botata came Saturdays. We all swear by it. Then come Christmas time, we travel home to Polokwane. And on the special day itself, Christmas that is, we wake up early to cook up a storm. Sitting down to eat together is just one of the biggest highlights of the whole year for me. Over the years, we also introduced traveling together, which does such a good job of bonding us as a family. I love it. D in the East End. 11:30. Mikey Molapo will tell us what's the very latest on Eyewitness News headlines. Welcome to the show, Mikey. Good morning.
Thanks, Thabo. Good morning. A 28-year-old alleged cyber bully made a brief appearance in the Cape Town Magistrates Court for allegedly threatening President Cyril Ramaphosa, Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis, and a prominent businesswoman. Sabelo Masango allegedly sent a series of threatening texts to the president, the Cape Town Mayor, and a CEO of an unknown company. Masango was arrested in Germiston on Friday after allegedly making the threats to the CEO last week. Police Minister Solly Malatsi says he hasn't seen a letter from controversial social media content creator Matthew Lani demanding a R2 million payout for what he says was unlawful arrest. Lani was handcuffed at the Helen Joseph Hospital in Johannesburg in 2023 after a social media frenzy about his qualifications. He made headlines for parading as a medical doctor, giving unsolicited medical advice on social media platform TikTok. And the Water and Sanitation Department says it's not responsible for the delays in reactivating the Lesotho Highlands water tunnel. The tunnel, which had been undergoing maintenance since October last year, was not restored to operation by its scheduled deadline at the end of March. Its main function is to transport over 700 million cubic meters of water annually from Lesotho to at least 5 South African provinces to ensure water security in the region. Those are the headlines. This Eyewitness News and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, if you're in the Selby area, leaving the Joburg CBD, heading towards the Riverlea area, there's slow-moving traffic, M2 westbound between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road. Otherwise, the rest of 702 Land not looking too bad. No accidents have been reported on our highways at this stage. Just look out for those faulty traffic lights, though. That's in the Edenville area, Modderfontein Road and Van Riebeek. Traffic lights still not working in the Alex area at Marlborough Drive and Far East Bank. If you come across any other traffic issues, please SMS us on 31702. We are also on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
From immunity boosters to South Meds, let Dis-Chem help you thrive this winter. Get 20% off all A-Vogel Echinoforce products. Buy any 3 Slowmax supplements and get the cheapest free. Relieve your cough with 2+1 cheapest free on any Benylin products. Find incredible deals on everything you need to nurture your mental and physical health. Offers end 15 June. T's and C's apply. Shop now at Dis-Chem Pharmacies. Better health starts here.
Hollywood Bet's exclusive Spina Zonke reels come with pulsating jackpot feels. Go all in with electrifying spins for a chance to win an exclusive Hollywood Bets Durban July Boomtown experience, a signed Ronaldinho soccer jersey, or a share of 500,000 rands in cash. Bet R2 or more on selected booming game slots to start your climb to leaderboard glory. Bet now. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bets supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Welcome to Nando's Customer Care.
Hi.
How can I fire up your day?
Sorry?
Yes.
My boundaries have been disrespected with how hard it was to choose a side from your endless, amazing menu options. Choosing between peri chips or wedges, spicy rice, coleslaw, salad, or the spinach.
Okay.
Then, the Nando's full chicken basted in that unique peri-peri sauce needs me to choose any two sharing sides from all of those options with a 1.5-litre Coke. I have no complaint. That's my complaint. Okay, thanks, bye.
Nando's. Fire it up.
702 and Absa Home Loans are bringing to light the property matters you want to know more about. On Wednesday, we're talking about how you can move from renter to property owner. So tune in to the masterclass with Relebohile Mabocha on 702 for an in-depth discussion about the legalities of the rent-to-own model. The masterclass with Relebohile Mabocha this Wednesday, brought to you by Absa Home Loans on 702. Absa is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider. NCRCP 7. T's and C's apply.
Join us.
Let's walk the talk.
This is 702.
Family traditions, family rituals that can separate or unite a family. Do you have any of these in your own family? Have they worked to unite you, or have you walked away from your family simply because these rituals, these family traditions and cultures were just too much and overbearing to you? So you decided, I'm not going to do this family thing anymore. Do they pull you home or do they chase you away? Could be that they pull you home because you're thinking, oh my goodness me, every time we get together round about Easter time, we bake, we chill, we sing at night, and we have a good time. Or you're thinking, in our family, the tradition, or I should say culture, is gossip. So you stay away. You're like, I don't want to be subjected to that gossip and judgment and all those nefarious things that take place. What is your family culture? Please share with us on 011-883-0702. And my guest, Thuto Lepoto, who is parenting coach. Thuto, thanks for your time once again. And I was reading a text from Dineo, very sweet. And Dineo was just mentioning some of the things that they do, that they would have, self-slaughtered chicken, and they would slaughter a chicken at home rather, and they would have this, that, and the other Christmas, and a whole lot of other things, right? So I was just wondering, is it possible to really mold these yourselves as time goes on? Or are we too reliant on those who came before us to define what a family culture or tradition is? Can we start a new one? It could be that when you grew up, Christmas was just another day, and you watched TV, you visited your friends, and now that you are older and you have your own family, you want to have a new stamp on the Mazibuko family Christmas, and you can make it your own.
Absolutely. And it is a must do. It is a must do based on my own perception and experience that I have dealing with quite a number of families. It is a must do. And the reason for that is, remember, some of these traditions are inherited from our parents. So sometimes the circumstances at the time when we inherited them, they permitted for these traditions to be freely applicable and to be freely practiced the way that they were practiced. But remember, we are growing up, we are evolving as people. Our choices change, our perceptions about things change, and all of that must be factored in to say, are they still relevant? I'll keep on using that word. Are they still relevant? Because these traditions, in actual fact, our parents practice them most of the time, and they practice this or they initiated them so that there is unity in the family. And I want to believe that they are meant to bring that unity, to bring that togetherness, that love, to create that warm environment within the family setting and amongst siblings and amongst the family. So to keep that, it's important that we always revisit. We always go to check to see are they still serving us. So it is a must that we mold them ourselves. It's a must.
Yeah, and I suppose you'd have to infuse them with reading the signs of times, right? Remembering that we are in 2025 now. We are not in 1981. You might want to do things a little differently.
Yeah. And I like what Dee said, because you had, the message you got from Dee. It's actually a composition of two different things. She visits the traditional part of it, where Batlhaba Kgokgo together they will enjoy it, and then now she infuses how over the years they've incorporated taking holidays, which probably back then didn't happen. But now she mentions that, look, we even now have taken a further step to go out on a holiday as a family, to go and bond. So it goes to show that we must be innovative in our families, so that we don't find these traditions boring, we don't find these traditions out of place, but we still make them to be relevant even today by infusing different aspects that will help us enjoy them, that will help us continue to enjoy the togetherness, the love, and the support for one another as a unit of a family.
What happens if I just walk away from all those rituals, traditions, and family culture that I was exposed to? Does it make me a rebel? Does it make me a bad person? Does it make me a self-exiled Judas who doesn't want anything to do with who they come from? Does it mean that I am abandoning my roots?
You see, I think each and every person has got a right to express and interpret information in their own personal way. But I would like to believe that it is very rare that you find somebody who will just abandon without a reason. It's very rare. Most of the time, the experience has shown us in our families that when somebody abandons, most of the time it's after certain conflicts have taken place. Some other people can express, their concerns about certain traditions and say, this, it does no longer align with me, or this is no longer aligning with me. And you would find that there might be some retaliation from the other members. And especially most of the time when it comes to religion, when it comes to, a person growing up and now making their own choices, whereas previously somebody was in charge of making choices for the family. So when somebody now rises and say, I'm an independent person, I want to do this, then it creates that conflict that then forces other members to say, instead of me, quarreling with other family members, I would rather abandon and step away. So it happens most of the time after there had been some altercation or some communication or some exchange of words or discussions that probably don't end well. Then we find people then withdrawing and disengaging. It does happen.
Give us a shout if you'd like to share a thing or two about the rituals, family traditions that you have, the family culture that you've carved for yourself, for your very own family. Perhaps it's something that you didn't do when you were growing up, but you thought, hey, since I'm a married man, since I'm a married woman, since I'm an older person running their own household, I'm going to do this every Friday. We are going to do this with my kids, with my loved ones. This is how we are going to look at things. Tuto, amongst others, I would want to ask you about perhaps small things make these rituals matter, right? I mean, things that happen every day. It could be that you always pray before you eat. It could be that you just share the dinner table with a song or something. It could be things that are happening every single day. Maybe there are families where everyone prays before they leave home, even where everyone knows that on Friday, mom has baked cookies every single Friday, or dad has cooked up a storm, or on Sunday, every second Sunday of the month, it's braai at home. Come hell or high water, raining or not, we're having a braai every second Sunday of the month. It's really those small things. It doesn't have to be huge things. Isn't that correct?
Very much correct. And it's important when we think and we talk about that as family members, when we consider such kind of things that become traditions that we can enjoy together, that we consider what everybody likes. I've studied many different ethnic groups. I've got friends who are Muslims, and I look at how they have these traditions that bond them together as families. I've got friends who are, white farmers, Afrikaners, English. When you look at all of them, individually, you realize there are certain cultures and things that they do not tamper with those. For instance, there are those, I've got a friend of mine who the after Sunday afternoon family drive is a not to miss. That's where they discuss, that's where they catch up. How are you doing? How's school? How's your business? How is work? How's your marriage? How are the kids? That's where they meet and they talk about all these things. They share the bride. The bride is that particular part. So what I'm trying to say to you is I cannot agree with you more to say, let us look into our families and let us look what each and every one enjoyed. And let's start to do those things together and bring together the family to enjoy those things, because it's through those things, those participations, that we grow and we are able to bond and form a very strong family unit.
0727021702, your text messages, and you can also send voice notes there too. This text message says, Thabo, an example of something I don't feel is a must is the slaughter of a cow for a bereavement, for a bereavement. Many moons ago, our forefathers bebefuyile heads of livestock. Our forefathers had heads of livestock. Now you see people struggling to pay for that cow. Our uncles will say there must be a cow, but they donate zilch. Comes from Tembile. Tuto?
It's unfortunate. It goes back to the two elements that I actually discussed in the beginning, to say there are certain traditions and cultures that exist, and we need to realize two elements that play a very pivotal role there, and that is values and beliefs.
Sure.
I mean, many times that very same statement, I've heard people saying, if somebody suggests, in the very same example, saying, because we can't afford a cow, let's go to the butcher and buy meat. And you will find an elder who will say, no, there must be a spilling of the blood, which it's a particular belief they hold, that you do not know the basis of such a belief, but you are then forced to go to an extreme that you can't even reach to, just to buy that cow, and becomes a problem. Then you find that there's a resentment once that person is pushed to spending the money. After that, they want nothing with the slaughtering of cows. So at times, we need to strike balance so that we understand and find a way of working through that.
Let's go to the calls, 011-883-0702. Dennis is in Zimhlope. Dennis, hi, welcome.
Good morning.
Morning, Dennis.
My contribution is or may I just start by responding to the one of the issue of slaughtering a cow. Now, the purpose of slaughtering a cow in the past was that is to use the skin to wrap up that is the body. That is why now it was sort of compulsory that you slaughter that is a cow. Then, but my contribution, which I wanted to make, that is most of my family members, the elders, whenever one passes away, you find that you have to be buried in the rural areas in KZN. But with me, I was born here, I grew up here, I attended school here, everything is here, I have a house here. I feel it's unnecessary for me to be buried in KZN. And whenever I speak that with my elders, that no, with me, then I'm now. They now feel that I am a black sheep in the family, and there's no need for me, man, to go to KZN. I grew up here. Everybody here knows me than those who. Do you find it?
Now they want to take it to KZN.
Yes.
And your friends here?
My friends are here. Some of my friends won't even afford to have money to go to KZN. You see now,
they want to do it for traditional purposes.
Yes.
Dennis, thanks, Really appreciate it. Tuto, please respond to Dennis, but just after the break. It's 12 minutes to 12 o'clock.
In business, a rand saved is a rand earned. And almost 100,000 businesses trust Outsurance.
Switching to Outsurance has definitely saved me money, 2,107 rands per month. I would recommend Outsurance to all business owners because they will definitely save money. With Outsurance, you always get something out.
For your business insurance, contact Outsurance to see how much your business could save. SMS quote to 43503 for immediate cover or visit outsurance.co.za today. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Honey, what are you doing?
I'm stretching for tonight.
I thought you're not dancing at bachelorette parties anymore.
Baby, we need the money to put Johnny through matriek mos.
And what's the police uniform for?
The clients feel safer when I wear it.
No, man, just sell your bucky to We Buy Cars. They give the best prices and they pay you within minutes.
Okay, but can I just go and dance one more time, please? You know how much I love it.
No, the buyer's already on his way here.
Wow, okay.
Strapped for cash? Just sell your vehicle to We Buy Cars. The easiest way to sell your car by far.
My family's struggling with snotty noses and phlegmy coughs.
Oh no! Have you tried ACC?
ACC 600 is a convenient one-a-day effervescent tablet from 14 years of age. Or now also in a no water needed fruity flavored sherbet-like granules that dissolve in your mouth. Ideal for the on-the-go adult. Ask for ACC 600 effervescent or oral powder at your nearest pharmacy to get rid of the snotties and phlegmings. And trust, if it doesn't say ACC, it's not ACC.
This isn't just a walk, it's a journey through memory, through meaning. The 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane, returns on Sunday, 27 July. Walk from the hallowed grounds of Freedom Park to the southern lawns of the Union buildings and some of our capital city's most iconic landmarks. Choose from 8 kilometer, 6.7 kilometer in honor of Mandela Month, or 4 kilometer for something lighter. Entry is 360 Rand for adults and 200 Rand for kids under 12. There's no parking at the start or end, so book your park and ride from Joburg or Pretoria when you enter. WhatsApp the word walk to 072 702 1702 to receive a link to enter. 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane. Walk with meaning. Walk with us.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
702 indeed. You're on Family Matters, Thabo, in for Clement. We're together till 12. My guest, Tuto Lepoto, who is a parenting coach. Tuto, welcome back. Earlier on, we had a very interesting call from Zimhlope in Soweto. And the caller was saying, listen, amongst others, they want me to be buried back at home. I don't live there. I don't know anyone there. But it's part of their family traditions. And that happens quite a lot, by the way. We've had an incident many years ago where one of our friends, whom we grew up with here in the townships, was now buried in Lumaunyaneng in Northwest Province. And we got there, we didn't know anybody there, and I doubt if she knew anyone there herself.
Yeah, it's a sad story, but the question then goes back to what we said earlier. What purpose does this particular tradition serve? Is it still relevant to us? And does it make sense? I mean, for obvious reasons, I understand the concern. And the concern for me, I share with him is this, that if he dies, are the same uncles going to foot the bill to take him back home? Because that's the biggest problem that we have.
Yeah.
The same thing with slaughtering the cow. People will come and want to impose on you that you need to spend the money and buy this cow, or now he has to be moved to KZN. If he is to be moved to KZN, who's going to be paying for the funeral at KZN, where there are people he doesn't know, where there are people who will not even come to help out with the cooking and all that and all that. The same uncle who's actually, pushing for that narrative is going to be hands out and he's not going to be involving himself in that. So those are the type of things that we face as families. And I think it's critical for us to see if whatever that, is a tradition, let's sit as a family, discuss and say, guys, out of the traditions that we have, how many of them are still serving us? How many of them still make sense? And can we still apply? Can they still unite us as a family? Can they still help us to grow and become better as a family? When we do those proper, frequent analysis of such traditions and cultures and rituals, we will be able to find common ground and be able to work together to achieve a common goal as a family.
And to what extent is fusion important? Bringing that culture and this culture together to create something new from it. I mean, if you are like me, married to a Chinese woman, how important is it to... I'm laughing because I'm not married to a Chinese woman. But if you're like me, married to a Chinese woman, and how important is it to say, let's take a little bit of the Asian feel here, and then let's fuse it with some bit of Lokshan culture and create our own thing?
Very important, because we are all different people. We hold different sets of values, different sets of beliefs. We have different perceptions about life in general, and we need to be accommodated equally if we are in a family setting, so that everybody can feel that they are important. They are an important part of this family, so that we can all contribute according to how we feel best to contribute. So this infusion of different, colors into our traditions and into our families is very critical. And people must not be narrow-minded, especially those who are elders in the family. They need to, from now on, be open-minded and allow that environment of conversations where they hear the point of view of others, so that we can be able to mold this family with that type of infusion, which at the end of the day will benefit each and every individual member of the family.
072-702-1702.
Morning, Thabo. In my family in September, Mapare here, Rodipot, we go to Mabopane, and then we do some graves there. We clean my grandfather's grave from my grandmother's side. And every time when we pray, it's always chicken, wors, and beef. Always, each and every time. So that's our tradition. Every time when we pray, those three meats need to be there, regardless. Even if it's low budget, those three things must be there always.
I'm wondering why you don't like lamb that much. Really interesting. Various family traditions there. Family Matters, the importance of creating family traditions and rituals. 4 minutes to 12, my guest, Thuto Lepoto. I suppose food, we haven't touched on it, makes a great deal, a great component of family traditions. Food plays a big role.
It does. It plays a big role. We gather to enjoy each other, but when food is there, it puts that seasoning, it brings that togetherness. That is something common that we come to share together. So food plays a very pivotal role, but at the same time, again, we have seen families fighting over the type of food that is cooked. Somebody will come and say, hey, I don't like what's so and so cooked. The other one say, I don't like this one, what he brought. So it also brings, so that's why in all events and all occasions, I think proper discussions must take place, so that so and so's wife, my wife, and my brother's wife should not fight that my wife cooked lamb and my brother's wife brought muhodu and we don't like muhodu, and other people start to eat more lamb than muhodu. So it goes back to having those conversations, being intentional about building and transforming and bringing the correct infusion into our family traditions.
Yeah. They also food also influences politics, especially local politics. You'd remember that there were two prominent leaders from KZN. I'm not going to mention their names. One is a vegetarian, the other was not. And a number of people from that side went with the one who was eating meat because they saw it as a typical traditional man. It's a story for another day, though. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it, Thuto. All the best. How do we reach you quickly?
People can reach me via email. It's lepoto with a double T @gmail.com, lepoto@gmail.com. And they can also call my manager 078-245-9313. My manager 078-245-9313.
Fantastic talking to you, Thuto Lepoto, parenting coach, 2 to 12.
It took time to create the life you've built. Every milestone, every moment,
you've earned it. Indra takes the time to understand what's priceless to you, tailoring insurance to match a life of distinction. True peace of mind comes from knowing that everything you've worked for is insured with precision. It starts with a conversation. It starts with helloindra.co.za. Indra Risk Services is an authorized financial services provider.
Craving a taste of Thailand? At Simply Asia, we could be sending you and 3 friends on a dream trip.
Spend just 200 Rand and you might be soaking up the sun with 3 friends in Thailand. Taste the Thai at Simply Asia and win your ticket. Plus, every purchase supports Gift of the Givers to help South Africans in need.
Cleansing.
Caring.
Connecting. That's what Songkran is all about. T's and C's apply. Competition ends May 31st.
The Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra's Winter Symphony season is sure to warm the hearts of music lovers during the chilly winter months. Concerts take place at the Linda Auditorium on Thursday evenings at 7:30 p.m. from the 5th to the 26th of June. Season and single tickets now available. Visit jpo.co.za.
Coming up
on the Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
Between 12 and 1, and she's right. I hope your weekend was fantastic, Mandy.
Busy, but wonderful. Thank you.
What's coming up?
So we're going to speak to John Steenhuisen, the Minister of Agriculture, and the COSATU President Ngiswa about their experience in the Oval Office with US President Donald Trump. A man accused of threatening the president and the mayor of Cape Town is appearing in court today. We'll pick up on that terrible story out of Boksburg this morning. 6 family members dying in a fire there. The Western Cape crime stats are being released, and then so much sports to talk about. Liverpool, the AFCON, what's it called? That thing this weekend with pyramids.
Oh, you mean CAF?
CAF, thank you.
Yeah.
The first leg of CAF. And Roland Garros has started.
Yeah.
Lots to talk about.
Quite a lot. Don't miss it. Between 12 and 1 with Mandy Wiener. It's been great spending time with you. Have a fantastic day.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Mikey Malapo. Police are investigating the cause of a fire that killed 6 people, including a 1-year-old baby, at a family home at Marikana Informal Settlement. As understood, the blaze gutted the home in the early hours of this morning. When police arrived, a 4-roomed shack was already engulfed in flames, with community members trying to extinguish it. Only a 7-year-old girl survived. She's in hospital with critical burns. Crime scene experts have been combing the scene, going through what's left of the 4-roomed shack. Ekurhuleni EMS spokesperson William
The smallest was a toddler of about 1.5 years of age. So unfortunately, they were declared dead on scene by the paramedics.
We move to the courts in the Western Cape, where a 28-year-old alleged cyberbully made a brief appearance in the Cape Town Magistrates Court for allegedly threatening President Cyril Ramaphosa, Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill Lewis, and a prominent businesswoman. Sabelo Masango allegedly sent a series of threatening texts to the President, the Cape Town Mayor, and a CEO of an unknown company. Masango was arrested in Germiston on Friday after allegedly making the threats to the CEO last week. The accused faces charges of contravening the Cyber Act and assault. Carlo Peterson has more.
Sabelo Masango appeared in the dock today wearing a navy blue tracksuit pants and a short-sleeved t-shirt. When asked if he has legal representation, he told the court he has lawyers in Italy and South Africa. Investigators say Masango sent threatening messages to the CEO on Monday last week. In those texts, he made threats to President Cyril Ramaphosa and Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill Lewis. He is charged with 5 counts of contravention of the Cyber Crimes Act and 2 counts of assault, all related to the messages he sent. The matter was postponed until the 2nd of June for Masango to get legal representation. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News, Cape Town Magistrates Court.
The MK party has joined a long list of critics of the proposed draft policy by Communications Minister Solly Malatsi, which would pave the way for billionaire Elon Musk's Starlink to operate in South Africa. Malatsi gazetted the draft policy direct, which erases BBEE as a requirement for multinationals to operate in the country. If passed, Musk's satellite internet provider would be able to operate on South African soil without being 30% black-owned, but it would be required to to invest in equity equivalent in the form of jobs and skills development. Malatsi has since been summoned to a briefing by Parliament's Communications Portfolio Committee Chairperson Khusela Diko on the matter. Speaking at a party meeting in the Western Cape at the weekend, MK Party spokesperson Ntlamulo Ndlela warned that bending the rules to appease Musk sets a bad precedent.
If they were to come in legitimately and their intention was to advance this country, there'd be another level whereby they say there must be black-owned companies that will contract with us, and those companies collect the data. Then those companies connect to the satellite. That's a different story. But we can't have a situation where that satellite is going to connect directly to you and collect your information in terms of where you move and how you behave. That questions our sovereignty, security, and the cyber world that we live in.
Police Minister Senzo Mchunu says he hasn't seen a letter from controversial social media content creator Matthew Lani demanding a 2 million rand payout for what he says was his unlawful arrest. Lani was handcuffed at the Helen Joseph Hospital in Johannesburg in 2023 after a social media frenzy about his qualifications. He made headlines for parading as a medical doctor, giving unsolicited medical advice on social media platform TikTok. Wits University dismissed claims he was a graduate at the institution's medical school, while the health department confirmed he hadn't completed matric. Tandulu Ngcobo has the details.
Publication City Press says a letter of demand dated 21 May has been served by Matthew Lani's lawyers to police